Hey, this is Soma79 with a special announcement. My new Mega Mix is up. My MF Doom Mega Mix, Oxidation Moons Day, is now available. Go to www.soma79.com/doom to check it out. It's a 30-minute mix that I did of MF Doom raps over my own beats. I really enjoy it. I hope you really enjoy it. So check it out. Tell a friend. Peace. Hey, welcome to the Articulate Ox podcast. I'm your host, Soma79. Thank you so much for joining me today. My guest today is Shawn Smoke. This was a really interesting one. We went for a long time here because when you get two wrestling fans together to talk wrestling, it just snowballs from there. Shawn does a lot of different things. He raps, he makes beats, he's a cameraman, he works in the wrestling industry around the Boston area, and he's got tons of great stories. I really enjoy talking to him. I'm probably gonna have Shawn again at some point. I'm thinking about maybe having, when WrestleMania comes around, having some of our wrestling related guests come back for sort of a group roundtable or something. So Shawn, this is your official invite to that. An idea I cooked up less than 20 seconds ago, so stay tuned. But follow Shawn. He's amazing. He's great. It's a great conversation. Thank you so much for being here. And all right, peace. Hey, welcome to the newest episode of the Articulate Ox podcast. I am your host, Soma79. Thank you so much for joining me. My guest today is Shawn Smoke. What's going on, Shawn?
Is there? What's popping, y'all?
Not much. How you doing?
I'm chilling.
Sweet. It's funny. Every time I see you pop up my feed, I feel like you're doing something else. So I don't know what to really. I'm gonna rattle off some things that I believe you do. Let me know if I get any of them wrong. Rapper.
Yes, sir.
Video director.
Yep.
Beat producer.
Yes, sir.
You do something with wrestling, I think, or
I do a lot with wrestling. Yeah,
sweet.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Sure.
Well, definitely. I think that's how you got on my radar because I think there was an AEW show in Worcester and I wanted to go on. I don't know anybody who's going to go to this show. And then I saw Hush pop up on that. I'm like, well, fuck, I guess he's the one that I should have. And then I think you were with him or something. I probably started following.
I brought him with me. I was like, Hush, you're going to go check out AEW with me, bro. I got tickets. Like someone blessed me with tickets for that night. And I had like nobody I could bring with me. Hush with me. Not. I would have brought him first, but he was also the only one available. But I was like, bro, I want to show you this world.
Yeah. Especially AEW. This was a live AEW experience. I haven't been yet, but I know that there's a difference. Like the AEW live experience is obvious. I appreciate you doing this now. Actually, AEW Dynamite kicks off in 12 minutes, and we are 1 week out from Blood and Guts. Yeah, you know what that means. Did you go to Blood and Guts in Boston?
I was like not sold on going, bro. AEW's current product does not have me sold.
Yeah, I like Collision, but I'm not
Me too, bro.
I'm kind of over the blood too, so
I do too. I'm not like big on like Moxley doing it every time, but the thing is that Collision's presentation like just catches my eye like so much better. Like I like the feel of the show, the pacing of the show a lot better. Like the matches on the show are actually like I hate to say more contained, but like they're more made for TV. Like if you look at like AEW's TV matches, that's why they just had to come out with that rule list. If you saw that, with like
Yes, yeah.
because they
Probably a
were
little, probably long overdue for a lot of the
brother.
people that work in that company.
I'm so surprised that it took that long for a company that's on national television
Hmm.
to have some standards and guidelines like that to protect their guys.
Certainly limits their growth too, because I think we're seeing that AEW has hit the audience they're really going to find with their current product, and like WWE goes far and beyond because they appeal to families. So one ticket turns to 4 tickets, and AEW's got to find some way to sort of pivot that without losing their core audience.
The summer show they're having at Wembley Stadium is going to be a big.
Yes.
That's going to be a big test for them, bro. Like,
And they haven't announced any matches yet, have they?
I mean, no, I guess not. But the funny thing is, like, you can see like MJF building against Adam Cole. I think that might be a thing.
Unless they're gonna do Punk trying to like say he's still the champion and fight MJF there, but I feel like they want to hold that off for longer.
If they would be smart to pull the trigger on that at that show. But man, all that stuff I would love to see make a like pick up from where they left off. But like also if they don't address like the elephant in the room.
Yeah, shit. The young buckery of it all.
Yeah, facts, bro. You get it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like so I feel like that right there is money made for them. Like that was just like God being like, hey, you guys, here's like the modern day storyline that you guys have been wanting and hoping for.
Right.
Just disguised as a real life incident. Now take with it and do with it what you will. But Tony Khan is just a little busy doing other things. I don't know. His booking is questionable to me lately.
I know, me too. I think it might be that there, and this is my speculation, that maybe there's still legal action going on between the parties involved, and perhaps they can't just do that. But even that, it's like, get the fuck over it. Like
that's exactly, yeah, dude. That's what I'm saying. It's been like a year, about
and it's like I'm a Punk fan. I'm surprised at how big of a mixed reaction he's getting now that he's back. It's like I thought it might just be in a couple crowds. Maybe it's because they've been in Canada for a while lately, but it seems like he's really getting a pretty mixed reaction.
It's that plus, it shows you the power of the internet.
Yeah.
It really does. And Canada was like hit or miss with their crowds up there too, but like they were pretty vocal. Shows you though, vocal was good.
And Dave Meltzer still has his reach.
Yeah, right. I mean, the star ratings have kind of lost their luster to me.
Yeah.
But
once you start giving 6 stars and on a 5-star scale, it seemed to be like, well, maybe this isn't.
And especially like I get it, dude. Like I get it. You like the most athletic spot fest looking matches, but like to me, like what draws me in as a television viewer is like what I'm seeing on SmackDown with like the Bloodline. Stuff like that is the kind
and
of
I'd say Judgment Day on Raw this week was awesome. They were spread out through all 4 of them were spread out on the show, and all 4 of them were great segments.
And you saw them on NXT, and you're probably about to see them on SmackDown.
Yeah.
Dominic
because it's like AEW could not turn Dominic. It's like I think the equivalent in AEW side, the closest one to compare him to is Hook, because they're both 2nd-generation stars. They both clearly have a lot of raw stuff to work with, and they both clearly understand the business better than a lot of other people their age because they grew up in it. But Hook is nowhere near the level of a main event wrestler, and Dominic isn't in the ring, but his personality is the 2nd biggest heel in the company next to Roman, really.
Facts. You see the like amount of like heat that he generates every single time he tries to say a word, man.
It's crazy.
I've never seen really anything like that.
Yeah. The closest you see Christian gets it sometimes in AEW, but he's took a long time for him to earn that.
Facts. And Christian knows how to get it though. Christian's classic heel. What a shit-eating heel. You know what I mean? Like dressing in all black, like just
turtleneck
like
wearing motherfucker.
Yeah, like who people want to smack that motherfucker, bro.
Yeah.
I love Christian's heel work though. Like,
me too.
You can't go wrong with him. And like he's doing good. Like Jack Perry dropped the Jungle Boy. That was a whole Christian. Christian did most of that. You know what I mean? I don't really remember much of what Jack Perry did. I just remember a lot of what Christian said to him and how Jack Perry may have responded. But it was a lot. Thank you, Christian, for that. If I'm Jack Perry.
There's a lot of dudes like when I look at a guy like Sammy Guevara, he seems to me like a guy who should look at Christian as a model, because he's doing a lot with his body that may sort of slow him down in time. But like I look at him as somebody who the fans both want to like but also want to hate at the same time. Like he's one of those dudes who'll get you to trust him, then stab you in the back, and that's a very Christian thing. I feel like if he goes down that path, he's gonna be in good shape.
Very good point. Very, very, very good point. valid on all bullet points right
All right,
there.
so let's talk a little bit about what you do in the what do you do in wrestling?
Give me, bro. I want to fix this lighting so
That's
bad.
cool.
Like, you look crispy as fuck, and I'm like, I forgot my my ring light like that I
Yeah, what
have.
to say? It's like video director. You must have some lights around there.
No, I do, but that was the thing. Like, my whole computer with my setup is like kind of sectioned off at the moment, so I couldn't get to that. I'm
Oh
renovating
yeah, I know that's like
it.
yeah.
Basically, like, so I have my laptop on the other side of the room, and I didn't even think to add the ring light. It's been a while since I've done like actually like a online Zoom interview, bro. Like, as
Yeah.
much as I'm like online on Instagram, I'm really not on Zoom interviews a lot at all. If anything, like, you might have seen me on like a local cable access interview with, that's where they have the lights set up for you. But
Yeah,
you know
yeah.
I
Yeah,
got
go
you.
for it. Yeah, go for it.
This is the most unprofessional thing I've ever done. But it's
Oh,
also
whatever. It's
it's also like this, bro. Like, I learned that like it would have been way worse if I stayed at my house. So I grabbed my computer, unhooked my shit. I called my friend down the street, my girl Chrissy. I'm like, hey, listen, I already got it. Let me open the door to this house and get in this little extra room you have, because I know it'll be quiet and I know it's a little better, well lit, but
yeah. I appreciate the hustle. That's what leads to success. It's like
I'm like, bro, I got to do something here. But you know what? It's that ring light, bro. But either way, it looks low. Like, it's fine. The two
yeah.
windows was messing me up. So
Yeah, that probably makes it a little worse. It's crazy too because I studied film in college a long time ago, and like lighting is really tricky. It's you got to know what you're doing.
it's the most important thing too. Like,
Oh,
I
it
just,
is. Yeah.
yeah, I kind of, you know what I mean? Like, I have a lot going on. What I do in wrestling is this. I just found out that our women's champion was just stripped of her title today, of Wrestling Federation of America, out of Concord. Um,
What?
yeah, so basically, you have to look at the website on, like, go to the Facebook, whatever, but like Wrestling Federation of America, we have like some of the really like some of the best up and coming talent that is kind of like a feeder system to NXT and other like federations. But like the
Yep.
people who work, like guys like Gabe Sapolsky have been to our
Gabe. Yep. That name carries a lot of weight in the wrestling industry.
funny thing about Gabe and myself is he probably doesn't remember this at all. But when I was like 13 or 14, bro, I was at the Wonderland Greyhound Park in Revere for ECW, like on a regular occasion.
This isn't the mass transit incident, is it?
My first ever ECW was the mass transit incident.
Oh my! You were at the mass transit incident.
Absolutely.
All right, now give a little background on what this is. People don't know because the license is like kind of forgotten for most people. But this is a very infamous moment in wrestling, which I'm sure will be covered in this book that I got yesterday and have been reading.
Oh,
Todd
that's
Gordon's.
fire, bro.
I
Oh, he
came
did
out.
it with Sean Oliver too.
Yeah,
That's good.
just came out. Yes, he's got it yesterday. I read the first 100 pages and it's phenomenal. Well,
Oh,
really well read.
shit like I am, bro. All right.
Oh
Word.
god, yeah.
That's fire. Nice, dude. The original OG ECW owner, Todd
Yep,
Gordon.
and it's like he's already gotten to the parts where he's bringing Paulie in, but he's already feeling like I don't know if I can trust this guy. I'm like, we'll see what happens.
He took him right out. But Paulie kept him on screen for a little while.
Yeah.
So
Mass transit.
yeah, man, background on this incident. This is like one of the most infamous shoot incidents in professional wrestling history. Like, one of the worst to ever go down in folklore. Let me shut these off. And so what happened was the gangsters, New Jack and Mustafa, were scheduled to face, I believe it was like Balls Mahoney and Axel Rotten, or like Axel Rotten or the Dudleys. I forget which, but one of the Dudleys couldn't make it. So I believe it was like, no, it was Bubba, it was Devon Dudley, and I think Axel Rotten couldn't make it. So there was this 17-year-old kid. His name is Eric Kulas. He met Paul Heyman in the background, and he was like, "Hey man, I'm a trained professional. Like, I got my gear with me. If you need anybody to work tonight, I got you." Paul Heyman was like, "All right, you're 18. All right, you can go. All right, word." So signed up for this match. All of a sudden, he's out there with New Jack. But the thing is in wrestling, if you're a new guy, like, you don't ask the veterans, "Hey, can I get some shit in on you during the match?"
And especially New Jack, who RIP is a lunatic. Or like, I mean, I don't know where the line between reality and fantasy is with New Jack, but he's not someone I would want to test that line with.
New Jack kind of used professional wrestling to get away with a lot of crazy shit.
Yes,
Um,
that's consistent with stories I have heard. Yes.
Look at Gypsy Joe, like the 70-year-old dude, like that he did some dirt to, you know.
And even throwing the other dude off when he didn't want to jump, which I guess was I don't know.
Vic Grimes.
I don't know how you make
I
a
was
decision
at
like
that
that.
too, bro. That was in Connecticut.
Have you ever had to go to court for ECW? Feels like you probably might have to testify at some point.
Facts, I believe it. No, I mean, the funny part about it is like I thought that was part of the show when I was a kid. Like when I was 13, I was like, man, I was really like still, I was in like America Online was heavy. So I was like writing a wrestling newsletter. Like I thought I knew ins and outs of the business. And bro, I went to that show. The incident occurred, and I just remember not seeing how bad it was until
We're talking about mass transit now. We're talking about
yeah,
Grimes.
that's sorry. Back to the mass transit incident.
Now, mind you, mass transit was the name of this dude Eric. That was the wrestler name he gave.
And he was a nobody like in the business. You know,
and he was probably too young to be there at 17.
He was. That's why ECW kind of won the court case because he lied about his age, and he shouldn't have been there in the first place trying to play with the big boys. When, you know, in any other scenario, it probably would have passed with no problem. But because he had asked New Jack, hey, man, can I get my shit in on you? That really pissed off a drunken, coke-fueled New Jack. And he used that to the best of his ability to nearly like maim this man in front of me and about like 300 other people at the Wonderland Greyhound Park. I just remember seeing like an X-Acto knife blade come out of the trash can. And then all I remember next is like a bunch of commotion and like the father on the outside of the rings being like, he's 17. Get him out of there. He's a kid. And my father, he's like, Shawn, we're out of here. I'm like, no, Dad, it's part of the show. He's like, not this part, it's not. I'm like, oh man, so I had no choice. I was mad. Like I missed the Sandman in the main event, but I was a tape trader back then. So, dude, this kid on AOL, I'll never forget his screen name, Malenko 55. Me and this kid were chatting back and forth, looking to trade tapes. And I forget what I sent him, but I remember that what I got in return was the IWA King of Death Matches 95 with Cactus and Terry.
Jack, yeah.
Yeah. And then the New Jack mass transit incident, and I scoured that tape down. So it wasn't until I watched the VHS like firsthand of the incident I was at till I like did I see the brutality. You know what I mean? Like the way I describe it to people is like, you know how like back in the day at school, like you had to lean over and like hit the water bubbler and like the water would like come out like an arc, like an arch. Like that was like the blood squirting out of this dude's forehead. Like when he was like laying on the ground, New Jack stomps him in the stomach. Like Mustafa hits him with a toaster from the top, and New Jack just grabs the mic. He's like, I hope this motherfucker dies. Oh. And bro, it was so brutal, bro. Like I was
that's
like,
not gonna sound good in court.
Bro, it was bad. But I was like, so like, you know, I got to work with Tommy Dreamer like years later, bro. We're at the Kingston Mall in Massachusetts, like Kingston, Mass. And I'm about to take him across the hall of the mall to like this green screen area where we shot like some like green screen footage, like some chroma footage, etc. And I was like, hey man, can you do the innovator of violence thing for me? Like do that. Like he's like, oh yeah, I forgot that one. I'm like, bro, I had to tell you, I was like, my first ever ECW was the New Jack mass transit incident in Revere. And he's like, I'm sorry.
That sounds exactly the way you'd say it too.
I was like, oh no, don't be sorry, bro. I was like, I didn't miss a show after that at all.
I can't imagine that dude must have been pulling his hair out that night because he seems like one of the more sensible people in the clown parade that was ECW.
Absolutely, like, he was like in it, in like it was.
He was like Ernie, who would go talk to the cops. Well, because he's the straight one.
Yeah, exactly. And he like a lot of the stuff, like the stuff you saw like produced on TV for like merchandise and stuff. Like Taz made a lot of the t-shirts. Tommy Dreamer like made like all the computer stuff and like edits in his mother's house.
Yeah, in the 90s. It was way harder than it is now.
Oh God, it was like actual work. You know what I mean? Like it's actual work now because you get to know like the digital side of everything. But back then it took time.
And money, because it cost, and it was like you were working with like tape is a pain in the ass to work with. Like it's just, and if you don't get it, if you don't get it on your shot, there's no going back. There's not like going to 9,000 other digital angles that you have.
Right. The one good thing about that is that like if you have a confidence in your first take, like you'll never second guess it.
Yeah.
Nowadays, half of my like biggest battle is like oh, I have like 9,000 more options that I can try. Like, hold on a minute. Like, and it takes me 2 seconds. Let me try this. And then before you know it, like, I'm like, wait a minute. I'm just circling back to where I
Right.
started.
You lose all objectivity very quickly,
Absolutely.
and it's
So
frustrating.
with ECW, that event changed the course of like a lot of stuff. That had like a court case that, Paul Heyman, I guess, like if you I'm sure you saw like what Paul Heyman said to like the judge in court about what mass transit said, or what mass transit's dad said to New Jack, and like why the court got a little swayed. It
Yeah.
was funny, man. I was like, they're kayfabing it all the way to the courthouse.
Yeah.
Really.
It is nuts because they've totally obliterated, even more so now, the line between reality and fantasy. It's just like
Well,
it's crazy.
nowadays though, it's a little different because
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, I'll watch these two like rip their heads off on TV, and then like after the show, on my Twitter feed, I see them like, they're posting pictures with each
Right.
other, like
Yeah.
hugging or whatever. Like, all right, I get it, it's all love, but like, come on, like keep the veil up just a
I
little bit.
know. It's like seeing like Danhausen and Brody King like action figure shopping together. It's like it's kind of
Yeah.
fun to watch, but you're like, these two should
Right.
be,
Yeah, do it for the content, but also like respect the kayfabe. And that's what I feel like a lot of the like younger generation of talent, like even that I worked with, like firsthand, bro. Hi, Judy.
yeah, this is
Uh,
Chloe.
what's up, Chloe? So like I feel like a lot of the younger wrestlers nowadays have never experienced kayfabe in its fullest form, in its truest form. Like you really had you like what did it die like out like 2000, like maybe around the buyout, or like 2001 to 3.
Yeah, I mean, you could argue even earlier than that. I mean, I would say when as the internet
Curtain
picked up, it
call,
started dying. Yeah, the curtain call is a good example. Yep.
so
Um,
like it slowly faded after that, because like you still had acts like Stone Cold and The Rock, like kind of like teetering the line a little bit. Like you didn't know for sure still, like with Vince McMahon and him, like you're like, oh my God, they hate each other so much.
yeah.
So another like milestone point for like kayfabe officially dying was like when Vince McMahon blew himself up in the limo, and then
And
because
Chris
of
Benoit.
Benoit, he had to
Yeah.
come back next week. And I'm like, oh, there it goes. I'm like,
What
there
a
it is.
dumb angle that was to begin with. Like,
What was that
it
to
was
it?
so stupid.
So my conspiracist mindset is like long-term storytelling. I'm like, did Vince do this on purpose? So like 20 years later, he could be like, oh, I faked my own death. I froze myself in a chamber and I'm still young. Like, I don't know. But if they were only
Trying to
like,
figure out Vince McMahon's mind is not an easy thing to do. Like, and I
if
too,
you
I
had
stopped watching for years basically because WWE was so shitty. And it took me a while for
years,
AEW to be back to hear about it. But then, once Vince was gone again, which now he's not really, but it's still not impacting the product as bad as it was before.
right?
It's good, but that dude is a double-edged sword as far as I'm concerned.
What's your opinion on like, all right, if you were told like, hey man, we got a job for you at WWE and you got to answer to Vince McMahon directly for like the next month? Of course you do it, right? But like, how nervous would you be?
Well, the thing is, I like my current job, so I think because there are parts of my life that I have thought about applying to. I actually tried to apply to them because it's like I went to BU. That's where Shane and Stephanie went. I thought I might be able to work that angle at some degree. But back then, what I was told is that they were at that point they were going out of their way to not hire wrestling fans because they didn't want wrestling fans, which spoke to sort of what the point they saw themselves as an entertain. They saw themselves as competing with Hollywood, not like competing with WCW or like TNA, whatever it was at the time.
Right,
But
right.
I don't know that I want the headache because I don't like leaving the house. But I mean, I would consider other jobs in wrestling, probably AEW or something. I just don't feel with WWE, I'd be giving up a lot of my life for something that I feel like would be over in like no time.
So for me, right, like I work in wrestling. I've worked like, for some of the top independents around here, just doing camera work, right? And like, say, when I work for like Beyond or Wrestling Federation of America in Concord, I have headphones on where there's a producer in the back switching live
Yeah.
who literally came up under Jim Cornette.
Oh
Uh,
shit.
yeah, he commentated this guy that I work for. He work with and for, but like he came up under Kevin Kelly in Ring of Honor, and they also threw him onto commentary in Ring of Honor for like the Steen Generico like blow off, like
Yeah.
third match, like the with Steve Carino on commentary. So like my boy Caleb, they put him on commentary Ring of Honor with Kevin Kelly and Steve Carino, like
Wow.
before he was even ready. And now he's running this promotion up here with
Awesome.
Mike Hollow and stuff like that. So when I work, bro, like I film the shows, but I also film the promos in the back, and that's like my favorite part. Like filming the shows can be tough. There's a lot of running around, a lot of making sure there's no cords in your way. You got to read the matches and the wrestlers, right? Making sure, like, which sides of the ring they're working, making sure the lights on in the shot. Like, there's a lot of
The uncertainty of a live crowd.
yeah, dude. Like, and sometimes like there's stuff that you're not privy to that you have to just be on your toes about, like, and just like work as it goes. You know what I mean? Like, there's some stuff that like is about to happen that they're like testing you out. They're like, all right, let's see how they respond to this one. You know what I mean? And then just throw you to the dogs, bro. The funny part about it is like my favorite part. Like, I love to be out there, like at the same time as the match and as close to the ring as possible. Absolutely. However, like I'm always sore. You know what I'm saying? Like holding the camera for that long, running around like for every night. I'm sore for a couple like a day or two after. But my favorite, like that's like the only downfall about it. My like favorite part about working with wrestling is like shooting the promos in the back with like the people because like I'm entrusted to work with these people alone and like be like, all right, that's good enough or that's not. Like this is good enough for TV or this is not good enough for TV. And when I say TV, I mean like IWTV, like independent wrestling television. That whole streaming network. There's a lot of content that I filmed that's like ended up being on that. But like when I work with the promos and stuff, like, bro, you should come out.
I'd love to. Yeah.
August 5th, Dr. Tom Pritchard's doing a seminar.
Oh, no shit. I've heard of his seminars before. That's awesome.
I did one before and like I was just there filming it, right? And then like Dr. Tom like saw me standing in the back and he's like, hey, you. And I was like, me? Like there's a whole bunch of wrestlers that like paid to come there from like New Jersey, Monster Factory, like all over the region. And literally like he's like, it's your turn. We were doing promos, 60-second promos in front of like a camera. And I'm like, me, bro?
Yeah. I'm the
I
cameraman.
I'm like, I didn't want to tell him that though, bro. So I'm like, and my man, like Caleb got mad at me after a little bit, but it was funny nonetheless because I just remember the Jim Carrey movie, Yes Man, where I'm like, I gotta say yes to every opportunity that, especially that I'm nervous about. You know what I mean? Like, because you never know what's on the other side. So I gotta walk through that fear and then cut that promo in front of all these. I'm like, well, I've been watching this shit my whole life. Number one, and number two, like I'm probably low key like better at promos than half of the guys at least here right now. Like, not that I'm like can actually wrestle a match. I'm talking about like just talking. I can maybe be better than like half of these people here at this moment. Maybe.
And you're not in your head over it too, because you haven't been thinking about it all day.
That's
like,
the thing, dude. Right. So that 20 seconds that I had between now and the camera, like I had to come up with like a name, a character, like somewhat of a story. And bro, I cut a 60-second promo. I'd give myself like a 70% on it. Like if I was grading myself. But like Dr. Tom was like, you could have done this now. When you said this, you could have said that. And luckily I was like recording and all the audio on my phone. So like I still have that to refer to. And like I'm wondering, like, hey man, August 5th, is he gonna remember the boy? He'd be like, yo, you know what I mean? And bring me back. Like, I don't know. But I would love, like I was telling my other friend about it, man. You got to come out August 5th in Concord at the Elite Pro Wrestling Academy. I can send you the link, all that.
Yeah, definitely. I'll try to make it out. I am shooting a video next weekend, unfortunately, but I'm gonna see, depending on what time it is, I'm gonna see if I can try to make it out because I definitely like I haven't been to independent wrestling in a long time, and this where we live in a great area for it. Massachusetts is huge for independent wrestling.
Think about all the greats that come from this area, bro.
Yeah.
John Cena, Kofi Kingston, Sasha Banks.
Banks.
Like, keep going. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
and then a lot of the old time guys too. I mean, like Beefcake lived around here. Georgie Animal Steel lived around here. Yeah, Triple H and China from New Hampshire.
Yeah, and that's Concord. No, they're from like Nashua. So like our other New Hampshire shows are in Nashua at the Boys and Girls Club. So like it's cool because I'm like, all right, like you see a guy like Kingpin Brian Malonis, he just like makes like this statement. He's like, yeah, I'm the best wrestler from New Hampshire. I'm just like, that's a dig at Triple H.
Yeah.
But Brian Malonis is also the only wrestler to ever bring out John Cena and or Vince McMahon to a fucking indie show.
What? How did they do that?
Bro, you never seen it?
I don't think so. I mean, it's not John Cena Senior, is it? It's John Cena like.
No. John Cena Senior is plentiful and very abound. Like very, he makes
Yeah, he's not hard to get a hold of. I'm surprised he's
right.
not popping in right now.
Yeah, Johnny Fabulous, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, but not John Cena and Vince McMahon showed up. I think it was like chaotic, bro. It might have been chaotic, but it was like a 2007 indie show where Brian Malonis versus Rick Fuller was the main event, and John Cena was the special guest referee. And like there was like a scuffle at the end. John Cena got involved, and then you hear no chance, and it's really
What
Vince
the
McMahon at an
fuck?
indie show, bro.
Where was
It
the show?
still blows my mind. I don't. It's on Brian Malonis's YouTube, like all
That's
of that.
why, like, especially around then, because that wasn't an era where they were really looking. It's like because WWE usually likes to pretend that there's no other wrestling outside of them. I mean,
You
like
already
unless
know.
unless they're trying to tell a specific story, but they don't try to pretend like there's a big world of independent wrestling going around.
Right. It was very, very out of left field, bro. And that was like the kingpin, Brian Malonis, and he's always the one saying I'm the best wrestler out of New Hampshire, but he can stake a claim to being the only person to bring Vince McMahon to the Indies, bro. Like,
But isn't that what's great about wrestling is that, especially for wrestling fans, been watching for years like we have, it's so easy to get jaded. It's so easy to say it's the same thing over and over again. But every once in a while, something happens that is like that's cool because it's real and cool because it's fake, and it's something you never saw coming. It's like
it's a live action movie, bro.
yeah.
Like,
It's like when Punk was supposed to lose the belt because he was going to
Money in the Bank
WWE and he won it.
2013,
You
Blew
know?
the Kiss Goodbye, bro. Come on.
Yep.
I like that was the last time, like up
I was even
until
thinking further than that. I was even back to Ring of Honor when he did. Yeah, and WWE too. Yeah.
oh yeah. So in 2013, WWE, like Punk Cena, like Money in the Bank, like that was the
Yeah.
last time in WWE I really remember feeling like any real heat or animosity. I was like, I don't know where this one's going.
Right.
And I was like, what's gonna happen? And CM, that's why I love. I don't know if you saw it, but like I made a reaction video like for the CM Punk return initially. And like, dude, that shit went viral as fuck. And I think I figured out like YouTube's algorithm, bro, through that, like unintentional. Yeah. Like anything as genuine as possible to you yourself, like is like close to something your heart is. Like if as long as like you're like fully invested in like, say if I'm like, all right, it's just me and this screen right now. Like in the viewer can pick up on that. Yeah, bro. Like as long as you just realize, like forget the cameras there type shit, like and the viewer can get lost in watching it with you, like as they're you, you know what I mean? Like to try to like not try to, but they subconsciously just like get lost in what they're watching. Yep. That's through authenticity. And like so like that friggin' CM Punk reaction, bro. Like I cried. Not because it was like a guy coming back, but because of the story that was behind that return and the 7 years that were gone and like the ups and the downs and like the whole thing that led him out of the business in the first place, and to see him make that triumphant return, sell out an arena without an announcement, and then to hear that music, bro, like I bawled my eyes out like a little girl, bro.
Oh,
like,
I've had those moments in wrestling too. Yeah.
You feel me?
Real, it's real to me, damn it.
Yeah, you feel me? I got like 30,000 YouTube views on that shit, bro. I was like, what the hell is happening right now? And then like, I'm like, how am I gonna get like all this rap shit I've done ever, bro? Like I fly around the country for this rap shit, and like me sitting in my bedroom crying over wrestling gets more.
Well, it's funny, like the Punk documentary he did for WWE, the Best of the World one. There's a few moments in that where every time I see it, there's a tear in my eye. Where he talks about how he couldn't go home, and then in particular, he talks about this kind of. He talks about his brother and he in his relationship with Lars from Rancid. And he's like, my brother stole from me. That's not what brothers do. And he's basically, it was about him drawing the line in the sand about how he will be treated regardless of who you are. And that's something that for my personal life was something I needed to hear. And I remember hearing that and having like tears go down my eyes and just being like, yeah, that's right.
Shit. That's real. Yeah, bro. Fire. That's fire. See, that hits me, bro.
And I tell you, when Eddie Guerrero passed away, that was a death that I took really hard. Like too, that was another one that it's just his DVD they made for him. It was such a beautifully told story of redemption, and then to have it all fall apart when he's brushing his teeth in a hotel room, it was tough. It was a real tough thing to sit with.
That's right there. Like if they, hey man, God bless Eddie, and one of my all-time favorites, dating back to WCW Nitro in the cruiserweight division, bro. Like before he was like lying, cheating, and stealing, he was like ripping the curtains through like off and just like tearing it up on Nitro in like early 96, 97. like from El Paso, Texas, like Eddie Guerrero with the mustache and the like,
The
you know,
mullet.
yeah, bro. I was like, this guy's special. I loved his music. And then like when he went to WWE with the Radicals, I was like, all right,
Yeah.
this is interesting because it's not Vince's prototypical like picks. Like these are four smaller guys. We got I had the most faith in Saturn, bro, because I'm like Saturn's from around here. He probably
Right.
like fit in well.
He's
But I'm like,
someone they probably could they'd probably go try to work backwards because of the way he looks into making him a star, but then eventually give him a fucking mop.
yeah. And then, bro, before you know, we got Benoit and Guerrero
Yeah,
both
hugging at
winning.
WrestleMania.
That is something I never saw coming, especially being like trained to believe that Vince loves the big guy.
Right.
You know, and I'm just like, well, sometimes they have to listen to the fans. And that was like around the era of like SmackDown being really good. And I think Eric Bischoff still involved in Raw? Was ECW?
I think it was Heyman on SmackDown and Bischoff may have been on Raw, but I never knew how much of Bischoff stuff was only storyline stuff or how much he actually did. Because I think Bischoff's a great on-screen presence. I think he especially when he's willing to sort of embarrass himself a little, I think he adds a lot to the
Great.
show. Yeah.
He ended up, you know, he made out with Vince's daughter and wife.
Yeah.
Like Vince is a weirdo, though. I love it.
No, Vince is like it's fun. So like I mentioned before that Vince went to BU. I mean, the kids went to BU, and I had a friend who I guess knew Stephanie a little. He's a story he told me years later, and he said that he once saw like one day Stephanie was moving into an apartment. He saw Vince put like a love seat, like a couch, on his back and carried up flights of stairs by himself. And he's a billionaire, or at least a
Yeah.
multi-millionaire. It's like
He's like, I don't need the help. Yeah,
I
just
know.
like
It's just that's Vince, even when he's just moving a couch for his daughter. Like
8 years old. Well, I don't know how old he is now, but still running the company. And like, bro, you got guys like Donald Trump in the WWE Hall of Fame, Snoop Dogg.
yeah.
You're bigger than wrestling at this point, Vince.
Yeah.
So I get it. You know what I mean? Like I get it. And you did
I get why you don't think the rules apply to you.
bro, they never did for him when his
Yeah.
father like gave him the company. He was like, just please don't mess with how things are going. We have a territory system. It works out for everybody. Everybody's happy. And then Vince is like, nah, fuck that. I want cable television and I'm buying out all the territories.
Well, his father
And
didn't even give him the company; he sold it to him. Like if
yes,
WrestleMania 1 hadn't gone off well, there would be all over around then.
Vince
Probably
put all that into WrestleMania 1, right? Like his house was on the line, like to that point. Like
What are your earliest memories of wrestling? Because WrestleMania 1 was a little before my time. I clearly remember WrestleMania 4, and I think that was probably the first one that I remember happening in real time. I don't know, some of the tapes of 3 and 2 and
So
stuff.
for me, I was a little bit later, bro. I was like 7 or 8. So like the WrestleManias coincide with my age. So when I was 8, I remember being in my friend's house and seeing glimpses of the VHS of WrestleMania 8 before WrestleMania 9 happened. And then I went to a house show with like Tatanka versus Doink. There was like
that'll suck you in. That's the match that's gonna make you a fan forever.
I know, but you know what? I was like 9, bro. So I was like maybe 8 or 9, and
Right,
like
probably the right time for that match.
I brought the signs. I was a kid, you know what I mean? I loved Tatanka. I did love Tatanka at the time, but like I was like Tatanka rules, Doink rules on my sign, bro. Like I thought I was lit. And then I got an offer from my across the street neighbor that November, and it was like, do you want to go to Survivor Series? I was like, what? I'll go. And that was like the one that was like the least, you know, like best favorite, like people's least favorite Survivor Series '93, All Americans versus Foreign Fanatics.
It was kind of a rough time for WWE in general. It was around post steroid trial, I think, and it was like they were still trying to figure out what they're.
So as a fan back then, I didn't know about all that stuff. I missed Hogan's first like WWF run on TV. I actually saw
that I did watch. I remember watching the Saturday Night's Main Events with like the dollar bill coming out of Hebner's pocket when they revealed there were 2 Hebners. I remember watching that live.
I do remember seeing Ted DiBiase with the little kid playing basketball and he kicked the ball.
Yeah, one of those was Rob Van Dam. Rob Van Dam was a kid.
Like that was I heard about that. But my first memory on television, bro, was like 1992 on a Bunkhouse Buck, like Steven Regal match. Like I don't know if it was Steven Regal or like someone else, but it was like Squire David Taylor versus Bunkhouse Buck on like WCW Saturday night, from like I don't know, like April 92, some weird shit like that. But then I kept watching and watching, and then like it just evolved. All of a sudden, they started to come around to like the South Shore Music Circus, and like you'd see them under the tent in like Hull or Marshfield or wherever it is. And bro, I saw like like you said, Owen's. I mean, Eddie's death hit you, but like I used to see Owen like up close and personal at like these
Yeah.
shows. And then I remember watching the Owen Hart Over the Edge show, and we had ordered Domino's pizza that night, like kind of like first match into the pay per view. The Owen Hart things happen. The Owen Hart things happens, and the doorbell rings, and the pizza gets into the bedroom, dude. And I just remember my buddy going like, "Yo, this pizza was made when Owen Hart was still alive,"
Oh,
and like that's when it kind of like still hit us,
man.
really hit us, bro. And
It's
I'm
crazy
still,
how I mean, that's such a you still remember that to this day. Like, yeah,
like it was yesterday, bro.
yep,
Like it was yesterday.
that was a tough one.
That was crazy because like, dude, like if that all like me, I'm a conspiracist, bro. Like Vince is a crazy mofo. Him and Brett had a falling out not long before that.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know. I don't put nothing past Vince. I'm not accusing him of anything, but I'm like, I don't put nothing past him either. He's just nobody I would cross. Vince McMahon is like one of those guys where like he's able to use television to project his own perversions upon
Yeah.
with the veil of it's entertainment.
Well, he's friends with Trump, so
Which, like I said, like you got a former president in the WWE Hall of Fame, bro. Like
yeah,
the WWE is bigger than wrestling.
yeah.
How did you feel when they switched it from F to E when they got
It's funny that came up in one of the last interviews I did because I have a WWF sticker right here of the panda.
yeah,
Like,
remember
I
those
remember
middle school, they had them everywhere in my middle school,
yeah.
bro.
I remember thinking that for a company that had won so many big lawsuits, they really effed them. That's a lawsuit they should have won, and because of Vince's arrogance, they kind of didn't. And I think, I mean, ultimately I thought it was so stupid at the time, but I got used to it, I guess, quicker than I thought. It's still like the WWE logo to now. If there's an E in there, I can't see it. It's just unless it's supposed to be like you hold it the other way, and I think that's kind of goofy. But I mean, it was so ridiculous where they'd edit out the scratch logo all the time and pixelate it. That to me was so stupid.
That had to last a long, hard 10 years, bro.
Yes, that was where they really, that was the thing that they really shouldn't have lost that in the court case. But I forget what it was that they had done. They're usually so good, but their main legal counsel, Jerry McDivitt, is now retiring. So we'll see what happens now. But
oh wow, so I mean, I remember like they've done away with the blurs,
yeah,
for some time now, but
they formed some sort of a deal, I think, where they got that to go away.
Man, yeah, I was just like, how is all this happening, bro? Like 1999 was like crazy for me because I'm like, how is Master P and the No Limit Soldiers and the Insane Clown Posse like my two favorite niche groups and rappers like ever, like ICP and No Limit Records, bro. Like, ask me anything. I was like, how are these guys in wrestling? I'm like, is this just because of me? Like, is this they know I'm watching? Like, what? They must.
Were you a big David Arquette fan too?
No, but you know what? I ran into David at the airport. Me and him were on the same airplane, bro, and I trolled him. I got it on video. You've never seen it on my bro?
No, I gotta check it out. I saw the David Arquette documentary about a year or so ago, and I fucking loved it. Like, so that guy's in.
I haven't seen that, bro. I have to peep it. I'm a big Arquette fan nowadays, but like,
this video will definitely make you one if you weren't already. Movie too. It's
as a human being, I'm a huge fan of David Arquette.
Yeah.
But I was on the same airplane as him, bro. Like, I think it was like going or coming from California. It was like some LA flight, and I thought, I was like, that looks like David Arquette. So I get on my phone. We had just landed, bro, and I'm like, that's definitely him. So I get on my phone. I asked like my friends who like listened to a lot more Howard Stern than I used to. I listened to a lot, but like two like Howard Stern encyclopedia friends, I had to ask them, like, dude, I'm on the fucking flight with David Arquette. I'm like, what do I ask him? And one of my friends was just like, ask him, he said, ask him something like, what are you thinking about Ronnie's sex tips or some shit from Howard Stern, right? And I totally forgot to do that. But my friend was like, tell him you work for Howard 100. So as soon as he told me that, bro, I got into like character.
Yeah.
So I let him get off the plane. Like I let him get his like shit together and everything. And I like kind of like Minnie like came up behind him. I was like, Mr. Arquette, Mr. Arquette. And he's like, hey. I was like, hey, it's Shawn from Howard 100. How are you? He does a quick double take. He's like, oh, hey, dude, he heard Howard 100. He like
Yeah.
automatic.
He's going right into PR training mode. Like, you know.
Yes, sir. So I'm like, oh, so what do you think about Jeff Jarrett entering the Hall of Fame? Like, I don't know what, bro. I was like the biggest, like, he's like, huh? He's like, shout out Jeff Jarrett. And I'm like, yeah, Vince Russo keeps talking shit though. I'm like, yeah, but have a good day, Mr. Russo, Mr. Arquette. It was hilarious though, bro. Like in the moment of like, there's like 10 seconds of like quality gem in that video where like I just ran up on Arquette, bro.
Awesome. He's I'll tell you, like that documentary is wild. There's some good Jack Perry stuff in there. I think some Luke Perry stuff in there too. I think he's in it. Some good DDP stuff. I was someone too, like DDP yoga really did a lot for me. Like that, like if
you did it,
I did it for I had bought it for my dad who was having some back problems and he never really got around to doing it. And I took it back and I have the old DVDs back when it was yoga for real guys. It helped me so much. Like so much. Yeah.
Okay. So how much like of your time, day, and effort and mindset did you have to adapt for it to...
I already have sort of been I'm one of those people who when I really set myself to an exercise thing, if it's aerobic, I stick with it. So there's definitely times I was too lazy to do it, but when I got into it, it took a few weeks to really get. You have to take it slow at first because it's a full body workout. You're gonna fool yourself to think you're just stretching and stuff, but it is a real workout. So as long as you set your expectations realistic for the first few weeks, you'll get a lot out of it. And I did it so much, so I've been 6 feet my entire life. I did it nonstop for like 2 or 3 months. I went to the doctor and I was 6'1", and I was like, yeah,
wow.
It made all the difference in the world. And I there was around the time I was dating a yoga instructor. I won't lie about that. So that sort of helped. But like it was really helpful.
I've always read about it and heard about it and seen how like it's made such like massive like
saved people's lives. Veterans, wrestlers that really people thought were beyond hope, like the Jake Roberts of the world. One of the reasons Jericho's still wrestling.
Yeah.
If you want to call it that.
Looks at
Shout out Jericho. I'm kidding. I do think about going on his cruises sometimes. Those look like fun. But it's the wrestling fans I don't know if I want to deal with.
Yeah, right. I mean, I'm with it. I would do it. I remember back in the day, like they threw like wrestling cruises too. Like I forget, like WCW had one at one point.
So that was well run,
but it was probably horribly ran, and I'm sure like,
it was probably just like Disco Inferno, like in a sailor suit, like walking around.
I would imagine that like it was like some kind of crazy, like Alex Wright is like the dance off competition person or something.
Yeah.
Like this guy.
Do you remember the first wrestler you met like out in the wild, like in real life? I remember for me, I was at the Providence airport early in the morning drinking a scotch, watching like Good Morning America, and I look over and Spike Dudley's next to me. And I politely, I requested him to acid drop me off the bar. He politely declined. He gave me a very wrestler limp handshake, and that was the end of the interaction. He had no interest in talking to me. And then after I left, the bartender was trying to convince the other bartender that he was a pro wrestler because Spike Dudley is about the smallest pro wrestler you're ever going to see.
Yeah, facts.
And I remember him telling Busta Rhymes on the TV, and he was like, "Yeah, I remember him standing next to The Rock on television, and like they're about the same height." I was like,
yo, that's crazy. That was Spike for you, huh?
Yeah, and I love Spike. That Spike Dudley Mike Awesome match, bro, not the technically greatest match ever, but Mike Awesome's a dude that should have been an enormous star. Like,
well, Vince Russo didn't see that in him.
Yeah, him and Matt Morgan are two guys that somehow didn't happen with. But
Matt Morgan, I did see a future for, even after WWE, like when he was in TNA and like redoing it.
I thought he was coming back after that, and it never happened.
I thought there was a place in for like a place to the top for him, bro. Like he's got this. You know what I mean?
I think he's in politics now. I think he now works in politics, but
with
Tyrus. Oh, Tyrus, yeah. Have you heard about Blue Cane? Because I meant to Google this, but like, it popped up in my feed yesterday, and I didn't have time to go into it, but I was intrigued.
He has like these snow powers and shit.
Yeah,
like,
I love it.
So I don't know where that came from, and I don't know, does it have anything to do with Matt Cardona?
For some reason, I saw that name associated with it, but I couldn't figure out how. Like, I assume it wouldn't be him, and that's Zack Ryder, right?
Right. So Matt Cardona,
I always messed that name up.
Zack Ryder, but he also did like a fake Undertaker gimmick in one of these last GCW shows.
Yeah.
And then, but I had seen a bit of Blue Cane prior to that Matt Cardona Undertaker thing, but then I did see the mention with Cardona and Blue Cane since then too. So I'm like, maybe there is a correlation. I don't know. I just think it's one of those like meme things that maybe won't last. I don't think it's an actual physical wrestler. If it
It
is,
makes
like,
me wonder though that maybe if it was that, maybe it now becomes something bigger. Because any decent wrestler who sees that buzz is like, we're gonna do something about this. Like we gotta,
anyone can
wrestlers
dress
can
up like
smell the money.
Kane.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean, like, so if you just
If
like
Kane
some,
can dress up like a politician, the rest of us can dress up like Kane. Like,
what kind of world are we living in, right?
Oh,
Like
shit.
Kane is the mayor.
If
Like
you're a
mayor,
fan of Kane as a wrestler, stay off his Twitter feed because you're not going to be a fan of.
yeah, you won't. Same with Mick
He's
Foley.
Well, what's Foley up to? He's he.
Foley's just like very no. I love Foley. Don't
Yeah.
get it wrong. I love Mick, but he's just like, I don't know, very sympathetic to all. I'm just like, come on, stand up for something.
Yeah. He is. He
You know
is
what I
sort
mean?
of that. Yeah.
Kind of too friendly.
Yeah.
You know, scared to offend. But that's
Yeah. I think so. Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah. And especially because his personality is, I think it may even be tied to the character because his personality is so lovable. I also see that a little bit. I like listening to Kurt Angle's podcast, but he's so polite and nice. And I'm like, oh, I'm glad Kurt is sober enough to be this way because you can definitely tell Kurt's had a long ride. I'm glad he's sober enough, but it doesn't make the best podcast.
yeah, the Perk Angle thing is tough.
I haven't heard that in forever.
But at the same time, the first wrestler I ever met, I don't remember the first wrestler, but I do remember like backstage not backstage, but like at an ECW show in Rivera. The reason I loved to go there is because like Spike Dudley and Tommy Dreamer would like let me help them take the ring down and like the ring ropes down the escalators after the show. Like I'd hang out, ask for autographs, and I'd see like Spike taking the ring down, Tommy taking the ring down, and I'd be like, "Hey, you guys need any help?" They're like, "Yeah, grab the ropes."
That's the way to get your foot in the door right there.
You know, and I was after one of those shows, I had asked Rob Van Dam. He walked right by me. I was like, "Hey, Rob, bro, if I bring a dime to the next Revere show, do you think we can smoke?" He's like, "If it's convenient." And he just kept walking.
What an RVD answer.
Yeah, right. But after that show, that same night, I did see him in like some dude's Jeep, like fishbowling the fuck out of it. And I'm like, "Oh, those lucky motherfuckers."
Driving around with no shirt on and a WWE championship belt with Sabu.
Yeah, riding down the highway and those chicks getting arrested with a car.
Man, he worked so hard to get there too.
Yeah, dude, just the luck of those two. So
Yeah.
Sabu was just another one I met, like all in the same time frame. Was like Rick Rude put me in the sleeper hold. Like,
I love Rick
Hogan, I waited in line at the South Shore Plaza to meet. I met Bret Hart at like WrestleMania 11 Fan Fest. I've met a lot, and then I worked with Bret Hart years later. Like, but like, man, there's still so many I wish I could have met that I don't have a chance to anymore. Like Scott Hall, my favorite time.
Yeah,
Scott Hall, my all-time favorite. Him and Nash, like I just love the effect the Outsiders had, and then like how like to bridge it into hip hop, bro. Like how on the Outsiders, like for the Outsiders on house shows in WCW, they would use the Fugees, Ready or Not, as their entrance theme, and I'm like, how cool is that, bro?
Yeah.
They know they don't have to worry about TV licensing and all that bullshit. They just play the song they want, like. And they were really into West Coast hip hop at the time, which was like the Wolfpack's real like influence. When you see like Nash come out with the bandana, they throwing up like,
yeah.
That was like, if you listen to Nash now, which I do with Sean Oliver.
Yep.
I like literally like he was like, dude, we were just so into West Coast hip hop at the time, and like Tupac and Snoop Dogg and like Death Row and like the whole thing. That was what really influenced us. And like then K Dog came into the mix and like it just blew up. And I'm like, bro, you're so, maybe that's why I connected with it so much, because when I wasn't watching wrestling, I was listening to Death Row records.
Yeah, Death Row is huge. Like
bro.
it's the like when you think of like even like how short of a time Tupac was on Death Row and how much influential stuff he put out, like it even kept trickling out after he was gone. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, that made me. I mean, I'm one of those people who really doesn't believe like that Pac is gone. Like I think he's that much of a great artist where like he can fake his death and get away with it eventually. Like he could have like the 7-Day Theory, like the
Machiavelli album.
The Machiavelli album, the whole
love that album.
Shug Shot, like the whole
that I forgot about that. Yeah.
Like the 7-Day Theory is really the craziest part, and then like how there's no death certificate. Like Just a bunch
Yeah.
of stuff. Like none of the potential sightings of Pac. Like, nah, I just think that like when you look at Machiavelli, like what did he do? If you study Machiavelli, he was an artist who faked his own death. And then Pac calls himself Machiavelli and just happens to die the September 7th, 13th thing. Like the
Yeah.
bro, there's just too many things where it's like, oh, it's just he's just that smart, but he's so gangster he got killed. Like, I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
shout out to Pac if he's still living, because I think he is. He's still alive in my heart, bro.
Yeah. Oh, me too. It's like you don't. There weren't a lot of hymns left. I mean, there wasn't like. I mean, it was not long after that before we were living in a world of Ja rules. You know, it's like
How much did you hate? I don't know. I was one, bro. I really was not a fan when Ja Rule ever came on the radio.
it was
Ever.
like. I mean, I'm sort of. It's like I'm also like, unless I outright hate something, it's like it's not for me. But like, it's just it was a pretty sad time in hip hop. It
That's what it
really
was
it
to
was a
me, bro.
vacuum that everybody was trying to fill, and it was
Yes, sir. Like Dipset coming out was cool. Like, but you seen G Unit, Dipset, and it really got oversaturated. Like, so I
and
look
people
at
like
it
the Locks were like kind of pushed to the side. The real lyricists were really just like, we don't need you right now.
now. With that being said, like the Locks Weird the Streets album is like one of my favorites still to this day.
Yeah.
Like,
One of the worst covers though of all time.
what's funny is like, yes, execution wise, like that was the worst. Like in an idea form, like it
Yeah, it
might have
is
worked out
though.
if they had the
Yeah.
right
But
person
with
to do it. But
1998 Photoshop, maybe not.
yeah, right. However, the production, like with Timbaland on that album, and like just Swiss, like I just really loved like I'm a ride or die chick. Like the
Yeah.
Timbaland beat, whatever that was, like the whole album, bro. Like that, and I didn't like the Locks on Bad Boys. So when they went to Rough Riders, like I was a fan,
Yeah.
and I have been a fan ever since. Like after I bought that We Are the Streets album, I bought the Styles P solo album. Like I would have never bought a Styles P solo album had it not been for the We Are the Streets album.
Yeah.
So with that being said, like Jada's still rocking shit, you know,
Jada's obscene. He's ridiculous.
one of the most respected MCs of all time.
Yeah.
When it comes to like New York MCs, like I'm a weirdo, bro, because I say that proudly though, because I I'm like an anomaly in my area in the sense of like who I listen to for music. So like I'm from Braintree, Mass. I grew up in Braintree, Mass. I was born in Dorchester. I lived in Quincy first, and I grew up in Braintree. Um, and as a person that grew up in Braintree, I somehow came across the Murder Was the Case soundtrack, the Doggy Style album, the Chronic, the Wu
Yeah.
Tang 36 Chambers, anything I could get my hand on and cover with my thumb, the parental advisory sticker, so it'd be okay to buy, I could
Yeah.
get. And like the Gravediggers,
Yeah.
like whole RZA side project. Like I didn't even know that was a RZA like side project when I bought it. I only bought it because there was no parental advisory on it, and I knew I could get it.
I remember
Like,
playing that game a bunch too. Yeah, I remember being blocked from getting a Too Short tape at a mall in New Hampshire, because the lady there told my grandmother it was R-rated, so I got Pete Rock and Seal Smooth instead. Still a great album, but
interesting. So I ended up getting the Get In Where You Fit In tape by Too Short, which is to this day one of my favorite albums ever.
fucking great.
And I just found out the other day that he's on the bill with Snoop and Wiz on Friday in Mansfield. So it's
Oh, really?
Too Short, Warren G, Snoop, and Wiz Khalifa. So I'm about to actually be copping tickets tonight because I should have already, but
Yeah.
I can't miss when my guys are in town like that, bro. Like I was just having a conversation with Hush the other day about Warren G and Snoop and Tupac and some things that like we had seen in some documentary.
Yeah.
And basically how it was weird that Warren G was never a part of Death Row. And how
Yeah,
like
I remember put the story about that.
yeah, so he broke it down. He sent me a link to like this YouTube link that compiled like every Tupac's and like what like Death Row person's interview ever in like this like short little form.
Yeah.
And the way he broke it down to me, bro, was that Warren G just kind of saw some things with Dre, like Dre and Warren weren't getting along great. And Snoop just didn't kind of want to be in the middle of it all, but like it ended up being fine. Like, look at what's happening now, bro. Like, the funniest part about it was, bro, is like, you know, Snoop is like my number one of all time.
Amazing.
Of all time. And with that being said, bro, like I talked my way into the back of like a Snoop concert one time by one of his security guards, bro. It was April 2010 at the House of Blues in Boston.
No, that's
My
a skill that'll get you somewhere, is being able to do stuff like that.
Bro, I'm trying to tell you, it's only certain like if I know what I'm
Right.
talking about.
I know
like,
there are certain situations where I see an opportunity. I'm like, this is the moment. I know I can do
yeah,
this. It's a matter of whether I want to.
I gotta
You
pull
know.
that card right now.
Yeah.
Exactly. So the security guard was standing there, bro, and I was like seeing these people go into the green room line. I'm like, those people get to meet Snoop. I'm like, I guarantee you that they haven't put in the hours listening that I have. I guarantee you they don't know what I know about the whole history of the music and everything like that. So I talked to the security guard, and I'm amped. I'm like fresh off the concert, like singing every word. I'm like, listen, bro, if there's anybody in this building that deserves to meet Snoop, it's me. And I dropped like a minute of knowledge on him about Snoop's like whole shit. He's like, you know what? You right. Come on back. Bro, I ain't gonna lie at all. So I'm like, is it cool if I bring my sister with me? He's like, yeah, come on. So then we sat in the green room for about 20 minutes while Snoop took about 3 to 5 minutes with each person, bro, individually.
Wow.
I shit you not, he was like physically and like spiritually there with each person while he spoke with them. Like he wasn't like signing autographs and like moving them along. He knew that every person had something to tell him. So he like took the time for each and every one of those people, bro.
That's why you hear that about the really big stars, like that they make you feel like, you hear that about Tom Cruise. You say what you want about him, but everybody knows that's ever met him has said that when you're talking to him, you feel like you're the only person on the planet.
That's what it is, bro. Because like I had a feeling too, like my confidence was full, bro. I'm like, I don't even have any fear that Snoop's gonna reject me or not listen to me. Like I already knew. I'm like, he's been waiting for this. He just doesn't know. You know what I mean? Like, and then when I left, bro, I was like, Snoop, I was like Shawn Smoke, man. I'm like, you're never gonna forget the name. I'm like, and you're gonna hear from me again. And when you hear from me again, you're gonna tell me, remember this. He's like, all right, Shawn Smoke, bro. This shit was lit, bro. So I hope maybe on Friday, bro. I'm pissed because like I wanted to hit the big night live. He's doing a DJ set as DJ Snoopadelic
That's
at
cool.
night, 4 hours after his set in Mansfield. I'm like, dude, Snoop's still doing doubles. I'm like, he's double gigging, bro. And he's like 50. I don't know.
Yeah.
He's like 1973. Yeah, probably 50.
Yeah, he's probably about 50. Yeah.
Just
I got to
like,
open for Warren G once years and years ago. Like
was it at Fiddlers or like not
Harper's Ferry?
Harper's Ferry. Yes. I was supposed to go to that, bro.
Yeah.
Damn.
I only did like one song because I think it was I don't know if
Was
you
that
know.
in November of whatever year?
Yeah, it was because I remember. So Mike Monarchy and my old crew, which was me, Pillsy Beats, Pascarosa, Narconics. I don't even know him. Like we had just
Derek?
yeah.
Oh wow,
He's
bro.
I'm actually I do a lot with him now. I was in my group Mike Monarchy with me Pillsy and Nick Pascarosa was Narconics. And I'm working I just finished an EP with Pillsy. We're doing some more stuff.
Shout out Pillsy, man. I know that's a soldier right there, bro. Shout out Pillsy, bro.
Yeah, so like I remember we did a show where we opened for RA the Rugged Man, and my solo CD was supposed to be in that day, but the printer fucked it up because I designed something particularly to look a certain way, and he thought it was a mistake, so it got delayed a day, and it wasn't there in time, and I was pissed. And then the next day, that was I think on Halloween. Then I think the next day was November 1st, maybe it was the next week, and I did a quick song opening for that on someone else's set. But that was like the last shows we did for years.
No shit. Fucking Warren G, huh? Did you get to meet him?
No, I didn't, because I was one of those people who like I was never like I never liked meeting people that I was into. For some reason, I was always just kind of like I like the experience of being there, but meeting them 9 times out of 10 like kind of took something away from it for me.
Heard. Yeah.
And also because I think back then I didn't know what to say. So if it was someone that I actually had something to say to was one thing, but if it's like I don't know like if I had something that I thought was worth saying, I probably would have. But because I opened for Onyx too, I'm like, I don't know, what am I gonna say to Onyx? Like, what sticky fingers gonna want to hear from me?
Right.
Like Blade was great. You know,
Facts. The Black Vagina Finder. You know what I mean? That tape got me in so much trouble when I was a kid, bro. Oh my god. Yeah. So I got to know DJ Paul of 36 Mafia, who was like one of my favorites as well. Like it's like Snoop and everyone from like that family, like the Dog Pound, like all that, and then take it to Memphis and New Orleans, bro. And it's my second favorite. You know what I mean? Like, or they're very interchangeable. Like Memphis music to me is like huge. Like 8 Ball MJG as well. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
bro, like Kia Shine, like I could go on and on. Like there's a lot of Tennessee artists, Young Buck as well.
Yeah.
Like I really love the soul that comes out of Tennessee music, and like it's just like some kind of different sound and bounce that really like. So here's like what it's like to be me from here. It's like, all right, you like these rappers. All my friends were telling me that they're not real lyricists. I'm like, but they make great songs.
Yeah.
I'm like,
I
their
went through
beats
that
are
too, and
amazing.
I finally came back around and realized that I was wrong about a lot of them.
You feel me? Like my buddy Jack would always be like, all right, Shawn, you like dope artists, but like they can't rap as good as like Big L. I'm like, but that's not why I'm trying to listen to them right now. Like I like Snoop's energy. I like Corrupt's wordplay. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like if I want to hear an MC rapping, I'll put on some Corrupt. But I know that I won't have to listen to that for too long because Daz is gonna come in and flip it up with some funk. You feel me? Like
Yeah.
I liked music integration as much as I liked the rapping. So like when Dr. Dre took Parliament Funkadelic and started flipping the shit, bro. Back in the day, I thought Dr. Dre was the man creating every sound I heard.
Right. It wasn't
I
like
didn't know what sampling was
yeah. Yeah.
at all when I was 10 when the Chronic came out. But now I even have like more of an appreciation for it because I'm like to take something like what they took and flip it into what they did and make it have such a lasting imprint. It really gave new life to the music that they took from.
Yeah, because especially Parliament, like even if you've never heard a Parliament album, if you listen to hip hop, you've heard pretty much every Parliament song. Like
Exactly. Like these old heads that I've been working with sometimes they're like, oh, I don't know if you ever heard of George Clinton. I'm like, bro,
of course, yeah.
well, what?
I saw George Clinton land the mothership at Smoking Grooves at Great Woods years ago. Like I was in the front pit, like Cypress Hill and them, and like Fugees and Tribe Called Quest. It was fucking awesome.
How was that, bro?
It was funny. So what happened was my mom got my dad what she thought were Bob Seger tickets because it was called Smoking Grooves, and they realized the day of what it actually was, and they just gave the tickets to me, and it was Fugees, Tribe Called Quest, Cypress Hill, Ziggy Marley, all these people. And the next year I bought like pit passes so I can go up front, and that's when Cypress Hill again and George Clinton was there. But it was fucking amazing. Like to see the Fugees and Tribe Called Quest, and I think Erykah Badu and Foxy Brown were both there that day too, and someone else. It was an insane crowd, and Busta was there with Tribe. This was maybe like 97, 98. It was a long fucking time.
Oh,
it was still called Great Woods.
Get more nostalgic than that, bro. Like that's like fully immersed. Like you might as well have brought the Source magazine to life, bro.
I know.
You know what I mean? Like Murder Dog magazine. Did you ever get Murder Dog, bro?
Yeah. I remember.
I don't know what happened to that shit, but that's how I found out about a lot of obscure rappers like Mac Dre. You know what I mean? Like I would have heard about Mac Dre if it wasn't for Murder Dog magazine. Yeah. And like I remember writing like on my book covers and graffiti like Soulja Slim. Like I just love the way Soulja Slim sounded. And I'm like, there's no way Soulja Slim's gonna come up out of No Limit. And then before you know it, bro, he had Slow Motion with Juvenile like 6 years later. And you know, his life got cut too short, but that was something I didn't see coming. I always thought Soulja Slim was just gonna be giving it to him raw, like and never like pop mainstream because of how raw he was, bro. And then he comes out with a Cash Money artist and has a friggin' #1 hit. And I'm like, I can still bump Slow Motion, but people still don't give Soulja Slim respect. Like that motherfucker got hit in front of his grandmother's house in the back of her head with a bullet while he was rolling on ecstasy, bro. Like, what a way to go. Like, Jesus. Like for me, the impact rap has had on my life is kind of crazy, bro. And hip hop as a whole and wrestling. Like, and I'm just blessed to be able to like live realms that I live in, which is making rap songs, beats, videos for rappers that I grew up listening to, for rappers that grew up listening to rap that want to rap now, and doing videos for wrestling companies or filming for wrestling companies, doing photography for wrestling companies. And the funny thing is that like, I don't know if I consciously fully did these things. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I always wanted to do these things, but it's like they kind of half found me as well. And it's like when they bumped into me on the road, it's like that's when we joined up, and now I have like
you were ready for it. You were mentally prepared.
man, I had these two partners with me now, like rap and wrestling. You know what I mean?
I always find interesting that rap, wrestling, and I think comic books is sort of the third leg of that, where they sort of all appeal to the same people. And I think they're about trying to create a bigger version of yourself, out of taking your insecurities and turning them into your strengths. Is what it's about. Making yourself larger.
Hit it on the head, bro. Because you always know in your body and your mind and your soul that you are larger. You're in this small town. You feel like you're looking up to these big stars, and you're like, that there's nothing about that person that I don't have. You know what I mean? And like you're looking at it and you want to be that. And now we have the internet, and it's like kind of a mind fuck, bro, because you can get famous in 2 seconds. But if you don't have any catalog to back that up,
right?
What's up with that fame? It goes away really quickly.
Right.
But if you're like you said, like I was ready for when the wrestling wave came and when the rap shit came around. Like I was always grinding at the rap shit. Like me and Lewis were in the same rap group in 2005. Like Lewis Bell, Post Malone's like writer. You know what I mean? Like
cool. Shit.
We were the good rappers, bro. Like that was me, him, and Anthony Bradley. This kid, bro, Lewis turned into. We always knew he was special. But like we didn't know he was gonna break the records, bro, or do what he's done in the industry. Man, I have to send you some old tracks, bro. Like from like '05, they still stand because Lou's engineering was like so good. Like the mixes just stand to the time.
Speaking of which, you're talking about Lou Balls, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I posted this track about a month ago.
Oh yeah, that's where we at. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So like. Let's get into this. So, like, I posted the song "Scams" that Mike Monarchy did years ago. I'll give you the history of how we ended up in that beat, and you can tell your side of this. So, and this is a song that we had recorded over a different beat that I think our friend Holbrook made, but it was very much, it was really ripped from a video game. It didn't have a lot of bass and didn't work very well. And then we had also done another song over a beat that P-Ro had did, and then eventually we found out that he had wanted to use it, and we were like, it was like we kind of got a little overzealous and used it. So we kind of went back, and Pillsy's like, well, I got a bunch of Lou Balls beats. He says that we can use them, and that's all I ever know about that. And then we recorded a bunch of stuff and started performing it. And "Scams" was sort of the song that people liked the most. But it was even back then, there was a couple other songs that we performed. Other people I didn't know would be like, yo, that's my beat. And so it's like this was like the second or third time this has happened with the Lou Balls. And I've never met him before in my life. I don't even know what he looks like.
Thanks to Pillsy, huh? That's hilarious.
I'm pretty sure it was Pillsy who gave. And like there have been a few issues back then where I was so happy somebody was giving me a beat CD. I assumed if it was given to me, we could use everything. But I found out that I was definitely stepping on some toes. Like,
well, you don't find out till 10 years later. You know what I mean? Like, I heard, bro, the funny part about it is I heard that, and I had just came up on like, I had to come up, like I had found a batch of files with all those old songs. So I was just able to re-listen to all my old shit just before your thing came out, like with that same beat. And if I'm not mistaken, it was track 14 off of the Dirty South Shore album that Luke produced entirely. And like 7 of those songs were remakes of songs we originally made in my basement. And Lou would come over and charge us a cup of McDonald's coffee for an 8-hour session. A cup of small McDonald's coffee was 99 cents. And he'd just want that, and he'd stay till 7 in the morning.
I think we know why he's successful. Like, everybody is jumping on his beats, even though they don't even know him. When they hear it, they're like, yoink. And then he's doing shit like that. It's like,
I need that East Coast Dr. Dre, whoever this is, bro. Like, exactly. And also the other way I knew he was going to be big, I just didn't know how big, was that he refused to get a driver's license and he refused to get into a relationship. He's like, these two things are going to distract me from my goals. He's like, when I get to where I want to be, I'll worry about it then. And now he's living in Beverly Hills on top of the hills. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Like, go get it, bro. You've written number one song after number one song. You've engineered number one song after number one song. You know, and he's just a special person, bro. Like, he graduated Thayer Academy, which is like a private school, like a special school, like for smart people, 2 years early. Like, not just 1 year, 2 years.
I graduated BU 1 year early, and now I feel like I can't brag about that anymore. I just did.
No, that's still brag worthy, my brother. That's still graduating. Anything is brag worthy, but graduating early, come on, bro. Shout out to you.
Well, what I'm really bragging about is the money I saved. Not that it was basically I was mature enough to make a decision that would save me money rather than stick around and spend a lot of money to get drunk. So that's the only thing I'll take credit for.
And now look at you, bro. You got a nice little spot. You got your collection. See, one thing about me is like I didn't get to keep the house that I grew up in. I didn't get to keep any of the things I collected when I was a kid. Like all my collections like got lost in
Oh,
storage.
I got lucky. Yeah, my parents didn't throw anything away. I got all mine back recently, actually.
Really? So yeah, like yeah, my family had to go through some shit back in the day, all that. Like we lost my storage unit, but I never lost my family. So I'm cool. You feel
Yeah.
me? At the same time, like I do wish at points like I could still reference certain things and post them nowadays and be like, oh, look at this picture of me and Master P with my Master P sneakers, my No Limit tank, and my Master P t-shirt, and he didn't give a damn. You know what I mean? I thought I was dripping, bro. He could care less. I'm like, look at how much money I spent on you, bro. He's like, yeah, keep doing it.
Yeah, I know. Those are the type of encounters where I'm just like, all right, cool.
You
I
wish
remember I
you
met
had
the guy from Everclear once, and it was the same night that Drew Bledsoe jumped off the stage of the show at the Paradise, and I believe seriously injured a woman. It was before that though in the night, and like, cause I was just saw him on the side of the street because I was living right around the corner from the Paradise, and it was a dick. So I was like, all right, man. I was a huge fan of them back then, but.
Yeah.
And again, I was probably an obnoxious kid. I was like 19, so I probably wasn't the best version of me. But we ended.
Right. Looking back, it's tough to be like, oh, imagine if I had handled this correctly, or if I was the me I am today back then. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like when Gangsta Boo fucking invited me to our house for New Year's Eve party, like I was already back in Boston because both of my cameras had got stolen. And I was just in a bad spot. Like we were talking for like 10 years, bro. And then like a few years passed, we didn't speak. And I was in California for a few months. We rekindled our talking. And then like in December of like 2018, she sent me a message on Instagram and she's like, hey, what you doing on New Year's Eve? Like next week. And I had just flown back to Boston because the place I was staying in, I didn't know was Dublin as a trap spot. And I woke up one morning and my homie was in the same room and like this random dude was in here. We're in downtown LA. He's like, what the fuck y'all doing here? We had to get up and I was like 7 a.m. Sunday morning, bro. I had stashed my backpack, which I always keep a backpack. It's my camera. Everything is in there. So that was in the laundry like closet in this apartment that I had no problem staying in for the last week or two. Like there was no issues. And then like this one random morning, they're like, get out, get out. So I had just woke up. I didn't want to question nothing. I'm like, all right, I'm out of here. I don't want no trouble. Like, I don't know who you are, but I know I'm not paying to live here. This is definitely not my spot. I don't have say.
It's not the hill I plan on dying on.
Correct. So y'all can have that. So I walked out and I walked back. And I'm like, fuck, I left my bag. So I go real quick, like not looking for issues. I'm like, yo, real quick, let me just grab one thing. They didn't answer the door. And then like eventually they like were in there. They had it's like they let someone else in. 45 minutes later, like a couple of their homies went in and knocked and they just opened the door right away, let them in. I'm like, oh, it's that kind of party. I said, all right.
Yeah.
Bro, the meds I was on back then were all in the bag. Every terabyte thing I had gone. So I had to fly back to Boston without an ID. And then I got that text from Gangsta Boo like a week later. And I'm like, bro, I could have had my camera and been at Gangsta Boo's crib right now if I didn't sleep. You can't change.
Oh, yeah.
Everything.
And then it's like, then the flip side, Seth MacFarlane had an airplane ticket for one of the flights on 9/11 and missed his flight. So it's like there's it cuts both ways,
Yeah. Everything happens for a reason, and that's why I never stay upset about things that could have gone differently that I wish may have at the moment they had, because hindsight.
Oh yeah, and that what you're mentioning there is a sign of like self-awareness and maturity too. You're just like, there'll be another, like, it's like there'll be good days and there'll be bad days. I remember I read this thing in I think it was the Dalai Lama's book when I was a kid, and it was talking about how they looked at people who found out that they had a terminal illness versus people who found out that they had just won the lottery, and they found that after the initial shock of both of them wore off, both groups of people found that they returned to their same level of happiness they had all along. And it's like that you can, obviously there are ways you can improve your happiness. I mean, I know I have, but it doesn't come from these things like this that we may think it does. It comes from actually real human contact. And
I like the way you think, bro. I'm glad that we were able to do this, and I'm sorry that my shit looks like shit right now.
Whatever, don't worry about it.
No, I do worry about it because I want to promote this shit and I want it to look good and everything like that.
We'll
But
do it again. You can have it looking better sometime. I mean, it's like
yeah,
I
yeah.
definitely have
Now I
people
know
on.
what the deal is, bro. I have this shit absolutely set up. This was a busy week. I had family in town for the last week. They threw me like a birthday party like a month and a half
Oh,
early.
nice. Happy. Oh, what are
A
you?
month and a
Is
half
it? Did I
early.
see that you're turning 40?
Hey, allegedly, yeah, man. Allegedly, yeah, bro. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's
I'm
the age.
already. I'm already there. I'm pushing 45. So like it's
God bless you, bro.
thanks.
Wow. Where's the fountain of youth at, dog? Holy moly.
Yeah.
See, that's the thing about getting older is that like, bro, it's really not getting older. Like you're just getting wiser.
It's really, I honestly, I've never been happier in my life, never been in better health in my life. It's
You look great, bro. You look very healthy. You
I
look very
appreciate
happy.
it. Yeah.
You know what I
It's
mean?
funny, like when you get to the age that we're sort of at now, you really start seeing people's life decisions because 80 looks the same on pretty much everybody, and 19 looks the same on pretty much everybody. But 40 to 50 looks very different on different people, depending on how they've kind of lived their lives.
Facts. Good way to put it, dude. You're absolutely right. Now, me myself, I unfortunately have 10 years of my life that I can't replace that I fucked up and made bad decisions on. But
I got a little bit of that too.
bro, I'm lucky to be here, but at the same time, I think about it like I also think that preserved me a little bit.
Yeah.
I do. I feel like it preserved me. Like I was filming a music video like 2 weeks ago for myself and my homie Lil Frosty. And I have my boy Jason out here with the camera. We're just at the basketball courts down the street. And we were like just doing some camera tricks with the basketball, like passing shit,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And there was a couple kids playing ball, bro. And it was like a whole full court game, really. And I was like, hey, you guys, I'm like, there was this one kid who was like lit with the shit. I'm like, you can dunk, you like the leader of the whole clique. I'm like, let me talk to you. He's like, oh, what y'all filming a video, man? And I'm like, yeah, yeah, yeah. Talk about it, whatever, real quick. He's like, yeah, man, I'm in the industry too, man. I'm like,
Aren't we all?
okay, let's calm down a little bit, reel it
Yeah.
back. But so I was like, listen, bro, can you guys change your location so you guys can switch your whole game to that court, to this court, to where we're filming, and just like have the game going on behind us while we're rapping? And he did that, but he was like, all right, man, but wait, man, how old are you, bro? I'm like, wait, you gotta guess, bro. And I don't know if he was being nice or not, bro. He was like 29. I was like, I'll
take it.
let you have that, bro. I'm gonna let you have that. I ain't gonna tell you my real age, but yeah, 40, bro. 40, yeah. August 29th. Me and Michael Jackson share the same birthday.
That's okay. Me and Saddam Hussein share the same birthday.
Hey, shout out Saddam, dog.
I got Saddam, Jay Leno, and actually, you're a good person to ask this question too. I was working on this theory the other day. Do you ever watch stuff like Leno and Letterman when you were younger?
Yeah.
All right. So to me, I was thinking about how WWE is really like the Tonight Show and AEW is really like Letterman, because Letterman was always like a parody of the Tonight Show, because it was like a parody of a talk show. And like you have WWE, which is obviously the standard in production. It's it's everything is great, but there's a lot of corny shit on it. Like the shush stuff always makes me change the channel. And they really stuck that if they go outside this bubble, they're not really going to survive with a mainstream audience. So then you have the secondary product like AEW that basically can't do the same thing as WWE because there's no room for them. So they almost have to be a parody of what WWE does. So where it's like Orange Cassidy and Danhausen are some of my favorite characters, but they're almost like a copy of a copy or a parody. You don't get them directly from Hulk Hogan. You have to like have generations of stuff for the irony to catch up, I guess. So I don't know. That was my theory.
No, that makes a lot of sense. And speaking of like things that make you change the channel, like a lot of things on AEW have maybe changed the channel. Like, but a lot of things that AEW does, like even when they're not filming, like just like last week they posted something on like Pro Wrestling World or some Facebook wrestling group where it was like post-show AEW like 3 years ago, and it was like Aubrey Edwards, Tony Khan, QT Anderson, and like Shawn Spears. And Tony Khan gave Shawn Spears a Stone Cold Stunner. And Aubrey Edwards is like, whoo, dude, she's like overselling the hell out of it. And I'm like, this right here is why I just can't. I can't relate to the current day product in this sense.
It's too much commenting on itself to some degree. People are too
like
excited.
You said, it's exactly a mirror of the WWE. Like you have this guy's company's boss giving a stone cold stunner to one of the heel wrestlers, and like you have the talent like hyping it because you know it's not a real storyline, so you have to try and sell like it's important. And that's what Aubrey Edwards is best at, is trying to sell unimportant shit. And I just can't. I can't. The thing about that is like, you know, we're blessed to have two places where wrestlers can go to work and can showcase their talents on a national television series, but there needs to be some type of like rules and regulations, and that's where WWE may have too many in place, and where AEW may not have enough in place. So to find that middle ground is like where we'll find, you know, beauty. And that's why I think like, all right, we have like Raw, we have SmackDown, we have two very different shows. One is 3 hours long. If Raw was 2 hours long, we wouldn't hear as many complaints about Raw.
Yeah.
But because they have to overexpose and then put on people like Nikki ASH, like, bro, I'm sorry. I don't
know
care.
there's ad dollars, or you have to get those Skittles checks, but like we don't need to see all this nonsense.
Or the Mountain Dew like match with LA Knight.
Oh my God. Can you imagine? I mean, we've barely seen Bray Wyatt since, and LA Knight is like, that was so stupid.
I was so surprised because after the Raw,
Triple H has been pulling his fucking hair out backstage.
You gotta be kidding me, man. Like after
who the fuck signed this deal?
Remember they had the Hell in a Cell with all red lighting? I'm like, how after they saw the feedback from that show like 4 years ago, they're gonna come back in 2023 and do something just worse?
The fans wanted Bray, and I guess we have.
They ruined him.
The funny thing about the situation, though, is that like, does this mean that Vince McMahon had a better instinct about Bray Wyatt than we thought that he did? Because like he got rid of him, and we got him back, and it wasn't better. Or I have heard rumors that there's something personal going on with Bray, and that's why he hasn't been back. But when he was here, it wasn't really setting the world on fire, as far as I'm concerned.
When he made his initial return, I was excited.
Yeah, when I did the thing with her cutting the camera, that was really cool.
Random weirdos in the crowd and stuff with
that was all very well done.
I was like, what a way to end the show, or whatever, wherever the
then the egg hatch and the gobbledygooker came out.
yeah, dude. Basically, I was just like, this isn't gonna go anywhere, because now it's been week after week, and I see the same thing. And now it's like Bray Wyatt's more human too. Like when he started to talk more, and then it started to just go nowhere. And I'm like, maybe this is where you said like Vince McMahon saw the writing on the wall, kind of like when Cody left AEW, he saw the writing on the wall.
Yeah.
God, what a move he made, bro. That was time.
Oh my God. Like he definitely, and he mentioned in an interview the other day, he said, the reason why I left was something personal that I'll never talk about, which really can get you speculating. And then in the end, he's like, what the final decision was. But like, I'll tell you, man, it's like, it's that executive VP position essentially meant nothing as soon as Cody Rhodes left, because he was the only one it seemed like who was taking it seriously. You know,
absolutely. The quality of the show was like, you have so many hours of television to fill a week, and you have no way of really booking storylines. You're booking matches with like internet darlings from overseas and stuff. You're making a very small niche part of the audience very happy, but the rest of them you're leaving out in the dark, and you're giving them a bad taste in their mouth. Like Bullet Club Gold or whatever the hell they're called now, bro. Like, what do they do? What's their gimmick? Like, I don't even know. NWO ripoff, Bullet Club ripoff.
I know. I just have to hope that those two guys are single stars, and I think they haven't buried them yet. I'm hoping that they're just slowly introducing them, because those should be big stars. Like, I mean, they're at least putting them in a prominent role. They're having good matches and being treated like stars, but those two should be superstars.
Like Jay White and
Juice Robinson.
Juice. See, I'm not a big fan of Juice.
I love Juice. To me, reminds me of an old school like Rick Rude type dude with like the flashy tights, and he's just crazy. Like he's just like he's unique looking, and like, you know. I
can get that. I just wish I could hear him. So I want to see some character.
Yeah, that's a good point. I haven't seen much of him on the mic.
I don't know much about him. I've not really heard him talk. I've seen amazing matches, but there's not much story behind those matches to get me invested in why I should care to watch them. Yeah. And that's the thing with AEW to me, is like Tony's putting on all these 5-star match shows, but what's the point of the matches that they're having when there's not storylines, except for, it's a dream matchup. Right. Like, that's cool, like I said, for a small niche audience, but you are putting on the show to a national television audience with bro, you're in the homes of millions and millions of potential people, but only hundreds and hundreds of thousands are watching.
Right. And I'm a
So
big fan of wrestling, obviously, but a lot of the Japanese guys that bring out, I don't know at all. Like it's like I know some of them, but like
none
I
of
don't.
us do.
Right.
None
I
of
didn't know
us
who Will
do.
Ospreay was until they put him on my screen. And obviously he's pretty impressive, but they didn't do a great job of telling me ahead of time, which would have been nice.
I read about Ospreay beforehand. I read about his matches and stuff, but I only saw how he put on incredible matches, not how he was selling out arenas, not how like he was, like the next big thing to come. And the next big thing to come, I think we already have here. I think Gunther is huge. Gunther is going to be something big, because he might. If it's not Cody, it's got to be him to take it off Roman. And if Roman holds it to WrestleMania, who else is in place to do it?
The only other person is really Jay Uso. I think
they're doing that at SummerSlam already.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah. So, and it's like because I think it's like they're still probably debating whether The Rock's going to be there next year, which it's like it feels like every year that doesn't happen, it's never going to happen.
I always thought the first time I heard about it, like with The Rock, I was like, if they do it, they should do it at 40. I don't know why.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah. And that's what I'm
like, do it at 40.
But The Rock's not going to beat him, so it's not like The Rock's going to take the title. So
The Rock's got to be there to put him over, if anything. Right. If The Rock beat Roman,
The Rock's going to be there to not get injured, like he did with like tearing his pec in the Cena match. He's going to be there to just do the job and put over his family, But
even if he just goes there to talk and throw a rock bottom or people's elbow around, it'll be just as effective. I mean, not just as effective as like, promoting a match with The Rock for months and then like generating all that income and revenue. But like the fact that like the Bloodline storyline has so many greats involved in it just kind of encompasses all professional wrestling, where like all wrestling purists kind of have to care about what's going on here, because you got the Samoans, like Yokozuna, Rikishi,
the long history of even Paulie Dangerously with the Wild Samoans back in like the Starrcade days.
Totally forgot about that. And those are some of my favorite. Like I love to watch old WCW for some reason, and like 91, 92 WCW is like such an untouched gem to me. I love it. And you see how much wrestling has changed. Like you said, like Tupac was only on death row for that short amount of time. Back then, time meant more.
Right.
Like now, 3 years has gone by and it feels like 3 months.
Right. Yeah.
So it's like with all the wrestling we have on TV now, like there's no way for wrestling to you're giving us too much. Like there's too much to choose from. And if I miss wrestling one week, it's not like I'm scared because I missed out on something huge anymore.
I never watch full shows. I mean, I will watch them while I'm working out and I fast forward the stuff. I mean, I watch most of Collision. That's the one that I'll watch all of now because it's new and fresh, and I like having Punk back. But like
commentary is done well too on that.
Yeah, show. It is. Oh yeah, yeah. And I saw until somebody really pointed out to me how annoying Excalibur was. I didn't really realize it. Now I can't not hear it.
Yeah, and Tony Schiavone and Jim Ross like could care less anymore.
Right. Oh, Jim Ross, I think has some help. I think he's pretty much done. He seems to have some sort of health problem.
He's been checked out, bro. He like fell. He like hurt himself. He had a black eye.
I love Taz. Taz to me is great, but I'm hearing rumors of Hook going back to WWE, and I wonder if that happens if Taz ends up there too.
I heard about that rumor, and then I heard it got shut right down.
Oh, but like okay, because I love Hook. So
me too. I think Hook needs more time in AEW to like just refine who he is as a character. He's still very young, bro.
But he's a superstar in the making, though. He is like it's like you think of when people looked at what Randy Orton was when he was Hook's age, and then realize that Hook doesn't have the attitude problems that Randy has, or doesn't seem like it. It's like he seems to be
he's hungry for what the goal is.
Yes. Right. And it's like, and I would say Taz is probably a more hands-on trainer than Bob Orton Sr. probably was. He's like Randy. He was a cast to hit somebody. That's end of lesson.
Yeah, and the Ortons Sr. are like distracted by all the women at the bar and like all the ring rats. You know what I mean? Taz is married. Taz don't give a damn about anything else about what his kid is doing. So like the focus, the mentality of what it means to be a fucking son of Taz, the human suplex machine, bro. Like Hook knows what it is. You're from Red Hook. Your name is Hook. You have Action Bronson doing your theme music, dude.
I love it. I love his music. I love the way it hits in the beginning.
Me too, bro. And then when Action got in the ring, did you watch that?
Yeah.
I was impressed, almost more impressed than Bad Bunny, bro. I was like, wow, both of y'all getting it in.
Fucking
Bad I'm like, Bunny. You guys are making it look too easy. You're making me feel like I should be in the ring now, though.
I know.
if Action Bronson can put on a viable TV match without botching, I can. I
Well,
feel
go
like
back and watch when Kevin Federline was on WWE Raw, and then Britney Spears announced his separation like the next day. So it's like it doesn't always go well.
oh yes, I forgot about that.
I think
feel
Morrison might have
that
given
was
them a shooting star or something. Oh yeah, it was definitely like it was near the that era where they had the guest host was so funny because I remember they had the cast of the A Team on with had Bradley Cooper, but he had become a really big star by then, and he made the shortest contractual appearance ever. He basically came out, waved, and like fucked away. He's like, I'm not doing
It was
this
so
shit.
awkward. I remember, yeah, I remember that. That was like an awkward phase for WWE, like the celebrity guest host era.
Yeah,
Very, very weird. Like Bob Barker came on.
that was one
Like,
of the best ones too.
that was literally because
And he
he's
had
been.
Jeremy Piven who kept saying Summerfest instead of SummerSlam.
Yes. Oh my God. Yeah, that was almost as bad as the guy that was there for Mike Adamle.
Like Adamley, R.I.P. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. Forgot about
Yeah,
that.
he was. I just saw a bunch. I was watching a bunch of American Gladiator documentaries, and he was. That's where he got his start. I think was on American Gladiators.
Speaking of that, I miss Mauro Ranallo.
I don't know that name.
Mauro Ranallo came in and did commentary in WWE briefly before he left. He was like the new guy. Everyone loved him.
Oh, froze up a little bit. Is this my internet or is this his internet? Oh, I'm back. Sorry,
You good, bro?
my internet dropped.
You good? We've been there for like probably a little longer than an hour.
Yeah, we probably can cut out. We probably wrap up momentarily, but let's just give some plugs and say what you're working on now. I did mention one thing I wanted to ask you before though. Good Burger too. We haven't even got into Hush, who that's probably I don't know how you know him. I met him years ago because I was part of Project Mayhem, his whole crew, and that dude when we were in that crew, he was like 15, I was 27. I was like, this kid is way better than me, and he probably still is. He definitely still is to this day. I'll give him that. But like,
He works harder than
he worked hard back then. He works hard now. You know.
the reason I was attracted to working with Hush was because when I was working late nights, I was working like overnights at some place like 2015, right? And I would be on my phone at like 3, 4 in the morning on my overnight shifts. And you know how on your Facebook Messenger it tell you who was active at that time?
Yeah.
The only person consistently up all night was Hush.
I
And
don't
I'm
know where
like,
the fuck that kid sleeps.
bro. So I'm like, is this kid working? Like, what is he doing? Like, so I get a hold of him. Like, we knew each other through like Maroney, like briefly, and then like I went to a couple of his shows randomly. Turns out we both knew a lot of the same people. But then I did like a how I met him like formally. I went to his house like 2012 with Maroney when Knox Beach was there, like randomly, like, and that wasn't like because of Hush.
Yeah.
But then like 4 or 5 years later, I was doing the Sober Society Showcase speech for Mike Smith, Lone Wolf Entertainment out of Brockton. And I did a speech, talked about like my tribulations and my drug use back in the day and my recovery and what it took to get from one side to the other. And
congratulations for making that. That's worth it's definitely admirable.
Shit's crazy, bro. I never thought, that would be me, but here I am. I appreciate you. So I spoke. Hush came up to me after, and he's like, "Oh man, I never knew that was you." Like, and my father went through the same stuff. He's like, "Let's, basically, like, he felt something off my speech, and like we connected off of that. And then before you know it, I'm doing like a no muzzle cipher, and then like before you know it, me and him and Sando Films are shooting videos for Daylight, friggin' Battle Rap Daylight.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Sando's name comes up all the time. I never met him before, but he's probably the 5th or 6th person to mention his name on this podcast. I think we're friends on Instagram. I have to reach out to him too. But
Sando's a good dude, man. Great camera guy, very solid dude. Used to be a b-boy. So like his whole shit is like rooted in breakdance.
Sweet.
So like Sando, I was at like one of the Hush shows in Quincy. And I had just got a camera. I liked to take pictures. I grabbed like a Canon EOS, like one of them $700 joints.
Yeah.
And I was just taking pictures, and Sando saw me taking pictures, and he was like, "Oh, you got the eye, bro." But he's like, "You could be making a lot of money if you start using that camera to shoot videos with it." And I'm like, "Wait a minute, I can shoot videos with this thing?" So I fucking next thing, like 2 months later, bro, like I'm at Hush's like every night, like grinding on Adobe Premiere, like all summer. Like I brought my computer to his house and put it right next to his, and like just literally learned Adobe Premiere. Like
Yeah.
I had to do that.
And Hush is someone who has no problem sitting in front of a machine and learning the software from inside and out. Like my
He
experience
might
with him
be a
over the
machine
years.
himself. Like I
Yeah.
really have questions, like because he's always on to the next. He's always one step ahead of everybody
Yeah.
else.
I just did a song with me, him, and Copyright last year, and he mixed it for us, and he kept.
I think I
It's like
heard that.
I thought it was done, but he kept giving me better and better versions, and I was like,
Yeah. He'll hear one thing and be like, "Oh no, that's
yeah,
like mix number 3. I'll send you mix 4 and 5." Like fuck.
I appreciate that. I'm a little like that too with my things. I'm just like, you only have one chance to get this right, so you gotta list, But
Yeah, he's very gifted in the technological fields where it's like if everything wasn't digital and everything was physical, his studio in his bedroom would be as big and as bad as any official music studio in the world. But the difference is all of his are digital and they're
yeah,
inside his computer.
yeah,
Every plugin, every VST, like literally everything that you have, like Pro Tools, friggin' Melodyne, Auto Tune, like you go up and down the list with the
yeah, he's
Apollo
got it.
Twin, with the friggin' the whole setup, bro, is you're gonna get a very in his knowledge. He doesn't let himself put anything out that's subpar, and anything that he puts his name and attaches his name to is never gonna have any subparness to it. It's always gonna have a certain standard of quality, and that's why I fuck with him because, like I said, when I was working that late night job, he'd be the only one up, and I'm like, he's grinding on music this whole time. I'm like, wait a minute, Lou was the only person I knew to grind it like this hard, and I need to be around this motherfucker so I can work just as hard. Because when Lou left, like I was like a chicken with my head cut off for a little while.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and I needed somebody to bounce these ideas off of and somebody that could flow with me, you know what I mean, and work with. And Hush is that guy, bro. And so shout out to Hush. We have a lot of work coming out. As for projects coming out right now, I'm working on one wrestling video for Teddy Goods and his promotion called Live Pro Wrestling. Just like kind of a compilation video with some sound design and some special effects implemented there, like unique wrestling videos that like now Teddy kind of reaches out to me for because he's seen some work that I've done for other companies in the past. Like, and I don't know, my editing style is unique. He's a big fan of it, so he asked me to film and edit a show recap. I'm working on that for a little while, and then Easty from E&F.
I don't think so.
Herrera, Dave Eastman, aka
Oh, that sounds familiar.
Easty the Muscle. Yeah, he used to rap with like Chuck D's and Have Notters and shit like that. And Tootie and shit like that. He had a solo track that I filmed on 4th of July video for. Bro, the fireworks, the barbecue, like the whole neighborhood, we shut the shit down. Like kind of people were nervous that night. Like everybody in the neighborhood was out, but everybody in the neighborhood was out. Right. So I'm like, hey, have your aunt park her star, have your aunt park her car in the middle of the street, bro, and have her shine the lights. We're gonna light you up. Don't worry about any other cars coming. If any other cars come, they're gonna either be curious to what's going on.
Right. It's the night you can get away with stuff, sort of, because it's like the other people trying to get away with worse stuff.
We had like 30 people in the shot, bro. Like everything went awesome, and then we went filmed a little more a couple of days later, and then me and my boy Lil Frosty got a video called 22s that we have coming out that I'm working on too, and bro, a lot of videos like Red Eye from Logan. There's a video that me and Hush are working on. I'm actually going to be finishing filming that at Cold February, that studio up there, where they have like all the video sets up there. Like they got like the airplane built like set.
Oh, sick.
Like, bro, this shit's crazy. It's like fairly priced too. I forget exactly what town it's in, but Cold February. It's like just like a studio setup where they have multiple different sets. So I'm gonna go finish that video over there. Shout out Cold February. And yeah, man, I We got a
Let
lot
me
of
ask
food.
you about one more thing, actually. Good Burger too. I saw a picture of you and Hush on set with Keenan Thompson.
Yes, sir.
What I think I saw something about Hush saying that he was in it, then he got cut out, then he was back in it. Like, what's the story
Oh,
with you
we in
guys?
that bitch for sure now, bro. We in that
Sweet.
bitch for sure now. So there was like a couple of days of filming, and on the first day of filming, Hush and I had like separate days for our first day of filming, and so on the first day of filming, I was like an international Good Burger customer, and so like I'm not really here to give away the script, but
Oh yeah, yeah.
when international Good Burger customer, like there was Good Burgers in multiple countries, and they had multiple like settings for those Good Burgers, like a British one,
Mhm.
Mexican one, or whatever, Asian one, and they had me in every one of those scenes. They had like a bunch of shit going on where like the camera was right there, and I may or may not be in those scenes. But then on the second day of shooting, me, Hush, and Los Fidel all got called on the same day. So that was the day that we definitely got on camera.
Sweet.
So for like the climax of the movie too, I feel like too. So there's definitely like a concert scene in that movie that you guys gotta look out for. And you see me, Lois Fidel, Hush Harding, all up in that bitch, bro. Because
You know
they
if they
we were
finish? Oh, go for it. Yeah.
no, they filmed this. That was the last day of filming.
Okay, so
Um,
they finished shooting before the strike ended, so this probably won't be held up, but they're
the
moving on to
second,
editing and post production
the
now,
first
probably.
day that I did my shooting, they had strikers out front. There were strikers, writers, strikers out front of New England Institute of Technology where we did the
Yeah.
first day. And then we did it in like right in South, like the city of Providence at the Strand. The second time we did the
Right
shots.
across from Lupo, or maybe it is what Lupo's used to be, or whatever.
Yeah. Bro, I saw ICP at Lupo's
Oh,
back in the
dude,
day.
Lucifer Harper when it was the place where you go in and it was long and you can go up to like the top. Yeah, I remember seeing like
Yo.
G Love there back in the day, like a bunch
Oh,
of
wow.
times. There's like G Love there like
Uh,
10 times, and like DJ
you remember
Kiyoki.
do you remember this dude named Mighty Casey?
That sounds so familiar.
He had this song, White Girls Going Through My instead of White Lines.
Oh yeah, something like
It
up
was
in
White Girls from the White Girls soundtrack, bro. This dude Mighty Casey was from like Bridge, like Cambridge, I think. And I could be wrong on the town, but like he had a CD in Newbury Comics that I was able to buy before I even knew he was from around here because I heard his song on 88.9.
Oh,
And then I saw
that's
the
also gets talked about a lot as 88.9, man.
man, I miss ERS for sure,
Yeah.
bro. And then I saw his video on BET Uncut. But then when I was working at the YMCA in Quincy, I was working the summer camp, and this dude come walking down the sidewalk. It looked like the motherfucker I had just seen in the music video, bro. I'm like, wait a minute, Casey? He's like, what up? He had like a Newbury Comics bag in his hand. I'm like, dude, that's where I bought your CD. So fucking, it was a very small word, but I just saw him on his Instagram like this morning. He's doing like movies. He's out in California, but like, check him out, bro. You'd
I
have
will.
fun like listening to Mighty
Yeah,
Casey. He's not
definitely.
like, too serious, but like, shout out Mighty Casey, bro. He's Massachusetts made MC that made it before any of us did, just briefly, but he did do.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I just talked to XL the Beast on an episode that hasn't aired yet, but like it will about 10
Dando
this
did
airs.
a video for him just
Yeah.
recently.
And we
Speaking of,
talked about how just like how the days of like the Tower Records on Newbury Street where there was the one star for Guru and there it was like one for like Marky Mark or like new it was just like Yo-Yo Ma, and you're just like, this is what Boston hip hop is, and obviously no shade on Guru, but like
yeah,
we didn't have, there wasn't anything. Anybody, as XL put out, almost anybody who was good decided to go to New York because they had a better chance of making it. We never had a strong radio presence here, so it's not like we built a scene, and
that's why I was excited when like Made Men and like all those guys came out. Like
yeah,
when Benzino and shit dropped, like before the Eminem diss, like because
yeah. Because
the
after
class
the Eminem diss, he wasn't worth so much.
you couldn't like really proudly say that you were like a Benzino fan, even though I'll still say like Bang to This, like that Benzino song, Bang to This is hard.
Yeah,
The Benzino Project album, like I did enjoy listening to for a short period of time when it came out. And then the classic limited edition Made Men
yeah,
album, like I fuck with all the Made Men, bro, like Mr. Jesus, Antonio Twice Thou, even Mantera, bro. Like Mantera was in like one of my videos like 10 years ago, bro. Like shout out Mantera.
yeah. This is Boston hip hop history, It's
Thanks, bro. Champagne Rod too. Like shout out all them motherfuckers, bro. like
Yeah.
Champagne Gang, all that shit, bro. Like I was hanging out with like fucking Drum Roll Studios. Like I don't know if you were like Joey Benjamin's, Ray Trilogy. I met Ray through Lou. That's how I know all of them. But like when I needed like a studio to go to when Lou left town, I started rocking with Joey Benjamin's at Drum Roll Studios in Quincy. I think he's in Stoughton now, but Hugh was my engineer for a long time. And like then Joey started putting on like engineering classes where all his clients would then come to learn how to do what he was doing. And that's how I met my good friend and like video client as well, Merson. If you want to check out one of the most fire MCs you ever hear of, check out Merson. Goes by like Mercer Lago sometimes, but Merson Lago, Merson. I'll post one of his videos on my Instagram later that I shot. He got one called Amen and another one called F that I did. But we got another one coming out soon. And I'll tell you this, when Merson raps, it always makes me feel like if Merson came out the way he is now in like 98, 97, 98, 99, like Big L and Jay-Z might not be in the places they're at because Mercer might have been in that spot.
Oh, man.
Look,
Check them
like,
out then.
clarity speak, like, bro, I'm just trying to tell you, like, the depth, it's all there, bro. The precision, the timing, like the pockets, the clarity, the enunciation, like everything is like, bro, this dude's supposed to be a rapper.
Yeah.
You know, and shout out him. He's like literally one of my best friends to this day. And music has literally brought like, so my last thing I'll say is this, like for tonight. And I want to thank you again for having me on, bro.
Thank you for being here, man. It's been fantastic.
So I had this birthday party that my family threw for me the other day. I haven't had a birthday party in a long time. All right. And the friends that I had at that place, right? The friends that I had come in my name. Two of those friends, if not like three of those friends, were from my childhood. The rest of them were all people I knew through music and have relationship with because of music.
Yeah.
The other three were like kids from my town that I grew up with, but like the other 10, I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, I got homeboys here from all across the board. You know what I mean? And they're all due to music. And everything, including this podcast interview here with you, bro.
Yeah. I mean, the only reason I'm here is because I met, I was at a rave where I met my girlfriend at the time, who had a friend Kim, who met this dude Skippy at a rest area, and Skippy was friends with Judge the Disciple, if you know him at all. And Judge and I did a ton of stuff together back in the day, and that's how I met Hush.
Judge D, right? Yeah, Judge D. Yeah, man. Hush has a lot. Hush has given me a lot of history lessons on like that side of things from when like I was not in the realm as much as I was before and am now. Like, because I did miss like a good 4-year chip of things.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was like kind of around like 2008 to 12.
Yeah, that was really the time that I was like kind of really doing a lot of stuff with those dudes, and it was just
that's why I never met you till now.
Yeah, probably not. Yeah,
and I'm glad I did.
Me too, man. Let's definitely do this again sometime, and we'll talk some wrestling. I'm gonna try to come out to one of your shows at some point because I got to see some live wrestling in person. And
bro, it's a whole vibe, bro.
Yeah,
it's a whole vibe, bro. And then you get to know some of the wrestlers. You know what I mean? Like, hey, man, you need some theme music. You know what I mean?
I'll tell you, my best experience at a wrestling show is I had mentioned before. Then we'll close after this. So who was he had once said on the air on one of his podcasts that like, if anybody's going to be in the area of the impact zone, hit me up and I might be able to help you out. And I remember that because I was going to Disney. And so I hit him up, and it was right around the time of Hulk Hogan's first pay-per-view in TNA, where it was a headline by Angle versus AJ. And I think so, yeah. And so he's like, all right, I got you on a list. Let me know how it works. And I get in there, and I guess he told them that I was this cousin. And I went in, and first we couldn't get in because the people at the front door didn't believe any of this. But eventually we got in with the general public, and I saw Dixie Carter, and I'm like, I'm cousin. She's like, oh, right over there. And she pointed me, and I was sitting in the seat. I was right behind Elijah, Elijah Burke's family, and I was sitting right next to SoCal Val. Like I was here, and the Barry was here, and she was on a chair right there. So I was like high-fiving SoCal Val the whole night. It was It was like the best. It was like cost us nothing. I remember I sent something really nice after, but my friend was like, how the hell did you get these tickets? I'm like, I don't know. But it was like,
That's how.
which I'm telling you, if he is the best, it's funny that when you're nicer than you have to be, the world comes back at you. But
Yes, sir.
he's a special dude in the wrestling world, and he's somebody who I think a lot of really only out there for themselves and they put themselves over. Is somebody who was so interested in actually wrestling that he puts himself to the back and he just really wants to do the best work possible. So, all right, man, we've been doing this forever, but let's catch up again soon. And thank you so much for doing this, man.
Anytime, man. Check me out. I am Smoke. I am SMXKE on Instagram and on YouTube at Smoke Screen Visuals. So check me out.
And we'll have all that stuff in the bottom of the screen the whole episode too. So
Yeah.
cool, man. It's been a pleasure.
Bro.